Oh yeah, I forgot about that as well. Yo, restream. Hello.
Hey.
Restream gonna work.
Hello.
Hello.
People.
No, we're good. We're
Anybody
good.
out there?
We're good. We're good. Welcome everyone. We're back again. TG podcast. Yeah. We got a lot to talk about, people. We got a lot to talk about. Unfortunately, we got to talk about the game on the weekend first and foremost. Defeat against Bournemouth. Talking about the big one against PSG, and then quite a lot of news in terms of transfers as well today. We're going to talk about, but we got Luca back again. We got Dom, and we got Rory. How are you guys doing?
Aside from Arsenal, yeah. I'm all right.
I mean, there was the positive news. Yeah, you're gonna have to get back to me.
Luca, how are we, mate?
Yeah, I'm good, man. Apart from Arsenal ruining my life, but
Ruining your life.
But yeah, well, I'm good, man. I'm very good. I just want Arteta to be sacked.
Oh, Luca,
Besides-
that's the best
besides-
thing goes out.
Besides that, apart from Arsenal, I'm all good, mate. But all
There
good.
we go. There we go. As always, guys, big up everyone tuning in. Make sure you leave your comments and all your any questions or your thoughts. Leave it down below. But yeah, where do we start, man? We've got a lot to talk to go through. I think. Listen, I know it seems like we say this every single week, but we got to unfortunately go and talk about the game, the Premier League game on the weekend. Bournemouth beating Arsenal. So we didn't actually draw. We actually lost this time to Bournemouth.
Again? Twice this
The
season.
double.
Twice.
That's the first time in history, isn't it, that they've actually number one beaten Arsenal at the Emirates, I'm pretty sure, and number
Yeah.
two have done a double over Arsenal.
Yeah, I mean, in fairness, they've not been in our league that often
True,
during
true,
their history, but
true.
it
yeah.
is their first ever double.
Yeah,
It sort of
they-
makes it sound worse, doesn't it, when it's their first ever? You're like, well,
Yeah.
we're not playing each other that often.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
still not a nice thought.
Yeah, exactly. Like, listen, it was. We started off so well. Rice, obviously, fantastic finish from him. He had some other chances before that as well. I was thinking, we got the first goal, but we just never killed the game off, and we allowed them back in the game from a corner from Huijsen. And then after that, I mean, the second goal is going to be a bit controversial. I do understand that, but I mean, come on, it was the same old performance really. This time, we end up losing to Bournemouth, and I think overall, I've got to say that they deserved the win in my opinion. Overall, but me and Rory was at the game. I'll start with you first, Rory, because you was there as well. Yeah, what'd you make of that, bro? And a defeat to Bournemouth, bro, at the Emirates, embarrassing, right?
Yeah. We've had some poor performances this season. but I'd almost argue this is the worst. Second half was just absolutely pathetic. We got outplayed by Bournemouth, and they deserved the 3 points. I'm not taking it away from them, and all due respect to Bournemouth and what they're doing, but when you're trying to win a title, and I know the title's out of reach because Liverpool have won it, but you can't be letting Bournemouth do the double over you. You just can't. You just that just cannot be happening. And the manager again got it horribly wrong. The starting 11, I didn't mind him going strong, but in the second half, it's pretty much a carbon copy of what happened against PSG. Change it. I mean, why are the subs coming on 5 minutes before the 90? I don't understand. Right, Saka comes off, Martinelli comes off. Should have happened 15 minutes ago. Waneri, I don't know what more he has to do to start. And the funny thing is, about Odegaard, right? First half, I was saying, you know what, he's actually playing all right. Like, bagged an assist. He was actually looking. He was looking like his normal self from 2 or 3 seasons ago. But second half, yeah, that happened, didn't it? I mean, I don't know what more it takes for the manager to actually drop him for these kind of performances. I mean, there was a moment in the game that I remember where I think he was pressing the opponent, and he won the ball back. The ball was still in play, and he just stopped. And I don't know if you saw that, Josh, as well. Like, you were obviously, was it South Bank, if I'm not mistaken, or was it
North Bank?
Bank?
Yeah, but right at the front, I was like third row.
Yeah.
Around the goal, yeah.
I was obviously up a tier, so I had a good view of it. Right, he won his own tackle, and then he just stopped. He was like, "Oh, the ball was still in play.
Yeah.
If he would have sprinted every ounce, he would have got there. He would have pounced on his own blooming tackle, for crying out loud." And then the opportunity where he had the opportunity to shoot, literally everyone around me, shoot the ball.
Yeah.
Everyone was screaming, shoot the ball. What does he do?
He doesn't.
It's just
It's a confidence thing. With his shooting at the moment, it's got to be a confidence thing, right? I mean, I can't think of any other reason. Because last year,
has he ever done this though, Dom?
He did it for a little while, didn't he? He did it for a little while. Was it last season or the season before? Where he was, it was last season. I thought I was. I knew I shouldn't have hedged. But it's got to be a confidence thing with him at the moment, because he's not even trying to shoot, and when he does, it's half-hearted. I
know, and I also watched the replay as well, and Saka's literally he's literally dragging back, for crying out loud, the moment he had the ball. It's as if he knew. It's as if he knew he wasn't going to shoot and he was going to end up diving, attempting to win a free kick that he's never going to get in a million years. And in the goal, it probably was a handball. But look at the state of him at the back post. You get taught this on grassroots, under 7s, for crying out loud. Stay goal side of him. Always keep an eye on the ball. And he does a brilliant job of doing neither. I almost said both. He did neither. And it probably would have been a penalty anyway, because the guy's all over him. I mean, I think I heard something yesterday that we've conceded 40%. It might be more, actually.
36.
No, 47% of our goals have come from set pieces this season.
36, I think it is, Rory.
No, it's actually 47.
Is it?
Really?
It is 47, yeah.
Thought it was 36.
It's the most, isn't it?
It's the most. Yeah.
So this gets me on to our next point.
Sack the set piece coach.
Jova, Wag One. What's going on? I mean, we can score them, brilliant, but what's the point if you can't defend? I mean, I'm watching on the upper stand, and I'm seeing a winger dash a rugby throw from the sideline. What is going on? We're getting caught.
Rory to that regen, wasn't it? I mean, it was Rory to that regen, the old Stoke.
Oh, the fact he has the same flipping name as me really does vex me out. I can't lie. Still pisses me off that he's got
Rory
the same name as me.
Players used to put it out for a corner when he was playing rather than give him a throw because it was less dangerous. But it's 38.7% of goals, and obviously Arsenal conceded less than other teams, so the percentage becomes higher. But that is way, way, way too high. That is a lot of goals.
I know. I don't know what we're doing. I mean, the marking this season, before the corner's even taken, not just this game, but over the course of the season, I've been like, the marking's been... What's going on? What is going on with the marking lately? And I don't know, we're just having these lapses. We really are. I think the only 3 players that can come out of that game with their head held high, I'd say Saliba, Rice, and Partey. Those are the only 3.
You've missed one. The unused subs.
Oh my god.
Oh my days. I mean, let me get back onto the subs, right? Waneri, if I was him, I would be looking for a loan. Although it should be vice versa. It should be Odegaard who should be going out on loan rather than Waneri. And I'm pretty sure Dalman should be looking at the same thing. Like, when am I really going to get a run in this team, man?
He can't. Dalman can't play. He can't. He's not.
Yeah, I know. But like, when he eventually breaks into the team, he must be thinking the same. Like, what more does Waneri have to do to start? We all know he was banned. Not banned, but he wasn't allowed to interfere with the first team because of his age. Now he's banned from making more than 5 minutes on the pitch, for crying out loud. So,
yeah, but I don't get with Arteta. Why is he not using Ethan Wanyeni, right? Ethan Wanyeni broke into this team as a 15-year-old for Brentford a couple of seasons ago, yeah? And the thing is, what does it take for this manager to like not start Ethan Wanyeni just because Bukayo Saka's back? Yeah, I get that. Saka's back. He's our most important player in the team. But why drop the kid that's come on for late 2 substitution games?
Well, I mean, he didn't even play against Palace either, did he?
No.
Which is baffling.
I mean,
yeah, because Sterling, right?
For our biggest game on Wednesday.
Yeah, I mean, Bournemouth, who are they bringing on to change the game? Bloody Semenyo.
Semenyo, yeah.
Yeah. Who are we bringing on? Sterling. Come on. I literally tapped out. I wanted to leave the stage. I wanted to fucking walk out the moment Sterling came on. That's when I tapped out. When Sterling came on, it's a wrap. Because I know we're flipping scoring. Right? And the most annoying thing is, right, Arteta actually makes the changes we're asking for, but he makes them too late.
Yeah.
Like, in the PSG game, we wanted Odegaard to be hooked for Waneri. That change didn't happen until the 90th minute. So we had 4 minutes to grab at least an equaliser. I'm like, well, what are you waiting for?
Well, I was watching.
It's like he can see it, but he's just too stubborn.
Josh,
like Saka and Martinelli, we all wanted them to get hooked for Wednesday, like 15 minutes before they eventually did get hooked. He waited until the 85th minute. In fact, no, I'll take it back. He brought on Waneri in the 90th minute. At the weekend, he brought him on in like, what, the 85th minute, was it not? So it's an improvement. I'll give him that. But why? But why wait so late? Why is he making a triple change as well? And the worrying thing is, that's our full-strength team. You what?
Why do 1 when you can do 3?
Oh, my days. And in the last 5 minutes, they would get me started. I am watching our goalkeeper Our goalkeeper, for crying out loud, breaking lines from the halfway line. Why is David Raya playing like Saliba or Tony Adams? What is going on? Why is he playing as our centre half in the last 5 minutes? I mean, are you sure, Mikel, you have no one else that can do that job?
You could have had Kivior doing that job, because Kivior's been one of our informed centre backs since Gabriel's been injured.
No, that's not the point. Like, at least, I mean, Partey, for crying out loud, he can pass a ball. Yes, Raya can do the same, but why are we having our goalkeeper starting our attacks? Why? From the halfway line, for crying out loud. It's all well and good, right? Having a goalkeeper that can play out from the back, don't have a problem with it. But that doesn't mean bloody, oh my days, that doesn't mean invert him as well. He loves inverting fullbacks. We now play with an inverted goalkeeper, for crying out loud. What's going on? Oh my days. I must have pointed out like 3 or 4 times because I had a brilliant view of it. Look at Raya. Look where he's standing. On the halfway line. Where he gave the ball away as well. At the end of the first half. And I honestly thought Bournemouth were going to chip him. And they nearly did. I think that's 2 games in a row now. In fact, no, 3 games in a row. Players have sort of exploited that weakness now, haven't they? Because they know Raya does encroach from his 18-yard box every time.
What's odd is that it's taken this long, right? Because we've been doing it since Ramsdale. Like, and it's a choice, right? It's a tactical choice, and there's a lot of benefits to having a goalkeeper high. But it's odd that you just get them in these sort of little patches where it's like, oh, look, he's so far out, and we're going to try and lob him. You know, because you thought someone would have noticed it with all the video analysts and data analysts and, you know, what have you. But someone would have gone, oh, they've been doing that for 4 years. Probably should, you know, do something about that. But it's definitely noticeable, though, in the last couple of games that a lot of teams have gone for that lob. You're spot on.
I mean, the thing is, right, Ramsdale was never playing as a centre-half for us. I feel like Raya is an extra man. It feels like we've got 12 men on the pitch, but we still don't look like scoring. It's madness, right? And then did Odegaard start full 90 minutes? And Trossard? I mean, someone might have to enlighten me, but I'm pretty sure both of them started 90 minutes. Odegaard definitely did, actually. But Trossard, I'm not entirely sure.
The last 10 minutes passed me by because I just knew the game was done. I know it was 10 minutes to go, but honestly, I couldn't tell you what happened in the last 10 minutes at all. I watched the game.
Yeah, I mean, Declan Rice came off, and I was like, why on earth has he taken off Declan Rice and not moved Marino up front and taken Trossard off?
What I don't.
So I was fearing the worst. I thought it was going to be an injury or something.
Why didn't Mika Moreno not start to get his bit of confidence going into Wednesday's biggest game? I don't get that. Mikel Arteta shouldn't have put a strong team out in against Bournemouth. It does not make sense. And now Timber, what I'm hearing is, might be available, right, for the game.
Yeah.
And he better do as well.
I think it's might.
Ben White, I mean, I forgot to mention him actually. He looked hella ropey.
He was rubbish.
Oh my days, he got roasted.
Who's that Bournemouth winner?
Whoever it was.
Who's that Bournemouth winner?
Kluivert.
No, the other one.
Atara.
Is that his name? Him?
Yeah.
He had him on strings, man. That Atara guy.
Yeah, first name.
Yeah, like within the first 2 or 3 minutes.
Yeah. Ben White he just don't look fully fit, in my opinion.
Nah. And I like him, but
this is the thing, right? When we do play,
he looks out of his depth.
When we do play PSG on Wednesday, Ben White's gonna have to be the Ben White what we know, overlapping Bukayo Saka, playing in that position, whipping the ball crosses. Mate, we've probably got about a 60% fit Ben White, and you're chucking him in again. Hopefully, touch wood, Timber is fit, right?
I was going to say, assuming you're starting Timber if he's fit, Luca.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, he's got to start.
For me, I think Timber's going to be fine. I think Mikel Arteta's got. I think it's mind games.
Yeah, I agree.
I think Timber has to start because look, my opinion on the game, right? I think the first half, we got the goal. Declan Rice. The only thing I really thought we had a problem in that first half, we never really killed the game off. We had chances there. Rice had a few chances. And then the second half, especially, we Bournemouth controlled the game somehow. And I'm thinking, what? I don't know what Arteta's done at half time. And I'm thinking, right, okay, we've got our first team out where I didn't think Mikel Arteta didn't need to start his first team. Could have played the likes of Sterling. Don't know why Ethan Wanyerny didn't even play.
But Lucas, sorry to interrupt, but
no worries, mate.
I don't know why you seem surprised, because this has been the story of our season. Like we take, we take the lead, and then in the second half, well, whether that's the first half or the second half, we'll have chances, not being able to kill off the game because of our shit attack, and then they just get a goal out of nothing. Right, we've dropped, was it 21 points from winning positions?
Yeah, 21 points. It's crazy.
This season.
We've done this situation. We did it against Brentford the other week. We went 1-0 up against Everton away from home the other week. This isn't the Arsenal of last season where people go and say, oh, this Arsenal could win the league this season.
No.
This Arsenal team could win the Champions League.
Tapped out in November.
Like I don't think we were never in the title race in the first place.
Neither did I after that transfer.
Like Top Gooners all believed that we all thought we were in a title race. When we played Liverpool at the Emirates back in October, I can't remember the date, but it was in October, right? People thought that we were in the title race back then, from like within 6 to 9 points of an international. We were never in a title race. We were there in the battles, hope. And the Bournemouth game myself, the second goal, right? That for me, that was a goal. 100% that was a goal, right? And I think VAR got it right. I think Odegaard accidentally handballed it by majority.
No, it wasn't him. It was Evan Nilsson. But even so, like the defending was crap.
But for me, I look, Bournemouth fully deserved to win that game, and I really thought Arteta got it all wrong. Substitutions for me should have brought on a little bit earlier. Ethan should have started the game. Didn't know why people like Saka and them not needed to start. And this is the only thing I'm worried about going into the PSG game. No, I'm not confident going into that game on Wednesday night. I don't see us going through, to be honest. I really don't. Like other people might think in the chat that they might go. We think that we might go through. Fair enough. That's their opinion. But the trouble is, if we play like that against Paris Saint-Germain, I'm hoping Touchwood Timber's fit, because if Timber's fit, we can manage to deal with PSG's wingers and their attack, who's going to mark Timber. But if Ben White plays, forget it. We've got no chance against Paris Saint-Germain. Because
the thing is, right, we're not even giving the ball to Ben White whenever he's making overlapping runs. I'm seeing him overlap, but we're not giving him the ball.
I wouldn't be worried about fully fit Ben White, but as we mentioned earlier, he's nowhere near fully fit. You know, he's not, and he's going to need to play minutes to help him recover.
Well, yeah, he hasn't played a lot of minutes.
And we've sort of seen him having reactions, having to sit out again. So, but you know, I'm not worried about his ability long term. I think he just needs minutes to get back into it. But you definitely do not want him playing.
Here's Kvaratskhelia.
Yeah, exactly, because he's not fit
against Ben White. Right
against this Ben White at the moment.
Yeah, Ben White right now against Kvaratskhelia, we'll get cooked. Like the way in that first leg, I actually thought we were going to beat PSG. Right, I was so confident going into that game. Always had that little nerve. But that first leg, we were absolutely awful, and we are so lucky that it's only 1-0, which has given us a bit of a chance. And it could have easily gone either way. That Dembele should have been a penalty. If that goes in, the game's done. You forget about Wednesday. If this Arsenal side, right, can beat...
Sorry, what penalty incident are you on about?
The Dembele one in the second half, in the first leg, when he fell on the floor in the box.
When?
Timber appeared to grab him.
That was Kvaratskhelia one.
Yeah, that's Kvaratskhelia.
Yeah, whoever it was. Yeah. But majority, that was a penalty at the time. But
they had chances with Barcola and Ramos.
They were the better team. Like that first leg, what we really had a problem is Odegaard had an absolute stinker, and Vitinha and Juan Neves, absolute ballers, right?
Yeah.
Juan Neves at 19 years of age, Vitinha, who played for Wolves in the Premier League, right, is now gone to Paris Saint-Germain, and they absolutely cooked that midfield. And the problem was, right, people might say, "Oh yeah, Thomas Partey was a miss." Yeah, Partey was a miss because Declan Rice can't do it by himself, and now Thomas Partey is now back. That's going to help Declan Rice do something. But can we beat PSG?
We'll get onto that, Luca.
Luca, you mentioned Vitinha, by the way. Just before we do eventually move on to Dom, because I'm sure you're waiting patiently.
No way. There's no way. What did I actually say in the video about an opinion? What I think of him?
What?
No, you just brought up Vitinha. I was just going to say, right, when Vitinha was at Porto, we decided to go for Fabio Vieira for 30 million when he was available.
Gosh, we went for me, didn't we? You bought me.
Teabag.
Teabag
from Prison Break. We know you know people. What a show. But yeah, Luca. But Dom, I'll come to you, mate. Obviously, I think Rory said it. 21 points. Is 21 points? Yeah.
21 points.
Sorry, 21 points dropped from winning positions, man. Like when you look into the player's body language, Dom, right? I mean, especially when I got the equaliser, you're thinking 1-1, you can get back in the game, but it didn't feel that way. It just everything felt flat. It felt like we was like 1-1, it's gonna be another draw. In the end, we end up losing. Like, I understand with the whole Champions League in mind, but do you think the players really care about Premier League anymore, the way they're performing?
I think there's something in this, right? So, I mean, I jotted down a couple of bits, just to sort of either, sort of explain a little bit and to remind me so I don't forget. But I think mentality was one of the things here. I don't necessarily think there's a massive mentality issue at Arsenal, but what I do think there is at the moment in the Premier League is this feeling that's been there for some time where the players aren't as up for it as they should be. I think if we were in the title race still and we could still catch Liverpool, I don't think we'd be seeing these level of performances from the mentality point of view. It's almost as if they are going through the motions.
If we were in the title race, sorry to interrupt, but
go for it.
If we were in the title race, it's like we're 15 points behind Liverpool, would we have actually beaten Real Madrid?
I don't know. I mean, you just don't know. I mean, Arsenal were in some ways well suited to play Real Madrid, so maybe we certainly wouldn't have beaten them 5-1. But I don't know, right? I think if you had everybody available and you could take a little bit, then maybe with the number of players we have available, probably not. But I mean, just from a mentality point of view, which is what I'm talking about here, which is why I'm sort of talking about ifs. We saw last season they looked up for every single game, like they did for Real Madrid, but in every single game last season. I think something in the players' mind with the Premier League at the moment is just not right, and it's as if they can't sort of fake the enthusiasm. I think it was James McNicholas was talking about this after the game, and I thought he actually had a really good point, which was, they're just not excited by the games, and sometimes you need to be excited. But I actually don't think that should be an excuse in any way, shape, or form. I get it's human nature, right? And there are tasks we all have to do which you don't want to do, but you still have to do them. So I don't think it should be an excuse in any way, shape, or form. But I do think that to Josh's point, that there is an element of that where the mentality of the players isn't right. And I don't know what the answer to solving that is. I suspect it will just come back naturally next season. And you just got to hope that the players use the disappointment, of this season, because it's not been good enough to sort of pick themselves up and get that right next year. But there is something in that, Josh. The mentality just isn't there, and you just didn't see them trying to get the game by the throat. No. I don't think it's not a question of not caring. I just don't think that they can sort of get that adrenaline pumping in the same way. The one exception to that is Miles Lewis-Skelly, who of course is in his first season. And I think that's almost what makes it sort of more stark is Miles Lewis-Skelly is excited by every game because it's his first season.
Do you think Miles Lewis-Skelly, people were suggesting, despite Martin Odegaard's not been performing and either Ethan Wanyerny starts in that Odegaard role, would you chuck in Lewis-Skelly in a game in midfield? And then because Kieran Tierney, we all love
it just won't happen though.
No, it's a bit of a risk. It is a bit of a risk. That's why.
I think with Miles Lewis-Skelly, it's quite a simple one, isn't it? If Mikel Arteta, does he want him as a central midfielder long term or a left back long term? I think if he wants him as a central midfielder long term, you absolutely do it. If you want him playing as a left back, and essentially our left back plays an extra midfielder, right? I mean, just as a way it sets up. Then I think you just keep playing him at left back, because if that's where you see him, that's where you play him. But as I say, with the season, I say there's nothing on the line. There is still stuff on the line. You know, I think it's still very important that we finish second, and that is definitely in doubt now. But you know, you just take that. You can take the risk now, right? Because ultimately, if he's 4th or 2nd, it doesn't matter. But I think he sees him as a left back because of the way he wants left back to play, and therefore, no, I don't chuck him into midfield. But if I want him playing midfield, now's the time, right?
I mean, what would you say, Don, about Odegaard's captaincy as well? I know going off topic here,
No,
but
that's
like,
fine. I mean,
no, I wanted to answer anyway. To be honest.
if it's no, it's a good question. If it's all right, if I can skip back to a few other points after this.
Yeah,
but
go on.
But no, I'll answer the question now. I think with Martin Odegaard's form is by his standards is nowhere near right. I don't think anyone is going to sit here and say Martin Odegaard has had an excellent season. Not even Martin Odegaard himself, right? I don't think he's been as bad as people say he is, but I think that's just a natural reaction. But he has been way below standard. I think, you know, he is still in the top 5, I think this is for in Europe for actually most progressive passers, and something like in the top 10 still for most progressive passers in the box, which I find staggering. You wouldn't sort of realise that, you know, but you can see, but that's just stats, right? You can make stats say anything. The eye test tells you he's had a little bit of, you know, he's had a down season for whatever reason, whether it's the injury, whether it's form, whether it's a new baby, whatever the reason is, I don't know. But he's certainly been way below. In terms of the captain, I don't really mind him having the armband because I did a video on this a few weeks ago. You've got the likes of Declan Rice and Gabby Martinelli. They are going to almost be captains whether they got the armband or not. They're going to shout, they're going to ball, they're going to sort of lead from the front. Martin Odegaard does it in a really quiet way, and I think when you sort of hear people around the place, they talk about the respect he has from the players and the coaching staff, and he does it in a very different way. And probably giving the armband probably brings that to the fore more, which almost gives you another captain on the pitch. Because as I say, Rice and Gabby are going to do it anyway, so don't bother giving them the armband because they don't need it to do what they do. So there's no point in making me a captain because I will shout and ball from the back and encourage and scream the man on shouts regardless. I don't need the armband to do that sort of thing, so there's no point in giving it to me, right? Because I'm going to be your captain whether I got the armband or not. So if you can get someone that's quieter to make those noises as well, you've got another voice on the pitch. So I don't mind that, to be honest. And a captain in football is not the same as a captain in cricket or rugby. They don't have the same impact, and I think there are very different types of leadership, so I'm not worried about that. But I get why the narrative is there, because as fans, you want to see people getting excited. You want to see those things. And I think everyone is understandably and rightly frustrated with Martin Odegaard's form this season. It's not been good enough.
But what do you think? Like, I'll ask both of you guys, what could be a solution to Odegaard being back to his best? Is it because we know the injury? I want to say it's the injury because we've seen how good this guy can be. You know, he picked up the bad ankle injury, but he's back now playing consistently. Is it because we didn't get that sort of competition for him in terms of in that window? Because I get Wanyeri can play there, but this manager clearly is not using him there. He's using him more as a right backup for Saka.
Rory, do you want to go first, or do you want me to?
It's a difficult one. I don't really want to make the excuse of the fact he's been injured and the fact he's had a baby. And I mean, I've seen this with footballers, various other footballers before. Right, they've had babies, and I've still seen much better centre attacking midfielders so far this season than Odegaard. And when I watched them this season, it just signifies just how poor he has been this season. Hopefully, pre-season will do him good. I think that's one advantage he could take, the fact he's going to have a break, which is, I'd say, most needed for him, and then go again obviously pre-season. Hopefully we see something click, because at the moment he's out of confidence.
His ankle.
Yeah.
Like, even when he's playing well this season, well, in games I'm speaking about, in like the opening 30 minutes, all it takes is just someone to yam his ankles or body check him out the way, and then he's just out the game pretty much for the vast majority. So Yeah, it is really concerning, and also we're not seeing them like final third passes anymore. I don't really see him on the edge of our own box, to be honest. And when he is, it's just a sideways pass to Saka, spins more than Shakira's waistline. You know, it's just it's going to see because technically, right, I think there is still a player there, but at the same time, right, he's 26, 27. Right, we shouldn't be judging players based on, oh, I could see a player in there at the moment when he's at that age. Because at the moment, all I'm seeing is just this, pretty much. Dropping both shoulders every time on the ball. Dun, 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 dun. Oh, one more spin. Just for the ladies, you know. It's driving the life out of me. Just shoot the ball, bruv.
Rory, is that an audition for a backing singer role? Backing dance? Bit of jazz hands.
I mean, yeah, like, I think at the moment, he desperately needs the summer. that's for sure. And if he doesn't turn up next season, then you either have to, well, pretty much move him on. At the moment, I wouldn't say no to a £60 million offer. I really wouldn't.
Really?
I wouldn't know.
But I would also upgrade him in the summer if we have to. Because, again, I'm watching plenty of midfielders so far this season, not just in the Premier League, but in the top 5 leagues who have been clear of him. And it's worrying.
I mean, I think undoubtedly this season there have been plenty of players ahead of him. You know, no question about that. I think you can sort of see. I still think he's got an important role in terms of connecting the play. You can sort of see him. You know, to your point on the turns, you can see him getting the ball, turning, laying the ball off. I think what it has been, and I think this is a theme not just with Martin Odegaard, but across the team this year. It's been one of my big criticisms this year of the team is it's too slow, too cautious, too conservative. And I think Martin Odegaard is as guilty of that as anyone else. And in some ways, is almost the sort of epitome of that, by which when he's doing it, everyone else does too. Because I was talking earlier about the silent leadership thing. People follow his example and take his lead a lot. And I think we're sort of seeing some of that. And Rory's point about what's behind it, I don't know what's behind it. None of us do. There are lots of factors there. Is it just form? Is it injury? What we don't know, right? But Arsenal need to figure it out, and Martin Odegaard needs to figure it out. But I'm nowhere close to giving up on Martin Odegaard. This has been the player of the season for the last 2 seasons. And I think you've got to hope that a rest in the summer and a little bit of time away helps sort of refresh him and renew him. Because the players, have not performed this season, and he's been the epitome of it, as I say. But you just got to hope that rest and that time away from football gets his confidence. I also think, and I talked about this a lot this season, more than I think I can remember talking about with Arsenal in many a year, is another player just shorn of confidence for some reason. Everything's been going in for him for the last couple of years, and suddenly they're not. He scored 10 plus goals last season. I think it was. I haven't got it to hand. He felt you almost felt that every time he hit the ball, he thought it was going in, and now he almost before he hits it, he knows he's missing. And it was the same with Gabby earlier this season, Trossard earlier this season, Jesus earlier this season. Lots of players have been in that sort of position where they just needed a goal. And I think it's a combination of those things that will fix him. But this has been our player of the season for the last 2 years, so I'm not overly worried. I'm definitely not selling him in the summer. But Rory's right. If we see this again next season, that's when you've got to be like, that's when I become really concerned.
Yeah.
But I also, I mean, I think Wanyeri is going to sort of be the long-term backup and then replacement for him. I think that's where I would see him
Max Dowman.
with Max Dowman coming through as well. Max Dowman, I think, is several years off. And I think, one of the things I wrote down when we were talking about, listening to the guys earlier, was that Wanyeri Odegaard. I think Wanyeri, he should have played more minutes in the last few games, right? Coming on with 5 minutes to go. Like, one of the things I spoke about in tomorrow's video about what needs to be different for PSG is things aren't going right. We need to just trust the bench and go to it earlier. That in the last couple of games has not been there. And Wanyeri, I think, does. But the point I was going to make on Wanyeri was I actually think we've by and large, got Nwaneri right this season, which is he's got a lot of minutes, but he hasn't got too many minutes because he is still 17 years of age and he's not as physically developed as, say, Miles Lewis-Skelly, and therefore you don't want to overload and put too much strain on his body. So I think actually Arteta's got that right, but in the last few weeks, I would say it's been not quite right where he should have played more minutes. And I do think in games, I would really like to see, like Odegaard was good for the first hour-ish, just under, because everyone was crap in the second half, let's be honest, apart from Rice. That's where I'd like to see Nwaneri. Yeah, he gave the ball away a lot, to be fair, but other than that, I agree. But Nwaneri, because we're coming into that role and starting to play that role there, because either Odegaard isn't fit enough for 90 minutes for whatever reason, or he's not playing well enough. And that's where I'd like to see Nwaneri come in there and get those extra minutes there. But I think by and large, the reason we're seeing the approach with Nwaneri is probably right. And that's why I don't want to see him go out on loan, because I don't think he needs to, because I think the minutes are there for one. But secondly, I think at 17 and still physically developing, you don't want to put too much strain on him. And I think Phil Foden was a great example of that. The other things I was just going to sort of mention just from what the guys were saying earlier. I mean, obviously the game was really, really poor. You can look at it and say, Bournemouth 2 shots on targets. Did Arsenal really deserve to lose the game when you conceded 2? From that point of view, no. But from the point of view of watching the game, those stats don't tell the story, right? I mean, Arsenal probably just about deserved it at half-time to be leading. Second half, we were awful. Absolutely awful. There's no question about it. You know, I actually think it was handball for the goal, but I also think Odegaard was fouling him. So if it's given as handball, I think you've got to look at what happened first, and it's a foul by Odegaard, and it's a penalty, right? So, you know, I'm not going to overly complain about that. I think VAR got the right decision, but in the wrong way. Ironically. But Arsenal were really, really poor. And I think, you know, whether it's that mentality thing, whether it was an eye on Wednesday night, whether it's just that feeling that sort of seeped in that nothing is going right this season. You know, I thought Arsenal would win the league this season. That's obviously not been the case. And I still maintain that there are reasons behind that. But there's also things we've done well, you know, that aren't in Arsenal's control. But there's a lot of things we've done wrong that we need to put right for next season. And they are simply, we've been too conservative. You know, I kind of half get it, right? You've got a load of injuries. You're worried about protecting players, so you slow the game down and you rely on your strengths of defence. But part of the reason why we've got such a good defence is not just because of the quality of it, but because we conceded so few goals last season because we were also on the front foot and controlled and moved the ball at pace. And teams were really worried about breaking on us because as soon as we did, we scored at the other end, and they couldn't get the ball back off us, and they couldn't get in defensive shape, and the defence was knackered, and the midfielders were knackered, and therefore they couldn't attack so well. And I think that's been sort of different. So I think there are easy things that can be fixed here. I look at the last couple of seasons and think we got more right than wrong. This season we got more wrong than right. So it doesn't overly worry me, but this season has definitely been poor, and one of those things has been that too slow, too conservative, and we just rely on our defence bailing us out, and we switched off twice and got punished twice. And you can't switch off in the Premier League or in the Champions League at all. And, you know, I think some of that is, well, we're creating more chances against us because we're not so dominant on the ball. And that's the thing that we've got to change. But I think we can find that solution. I'm not worried about that. But the season's undoubtedly come apart. Why have we not won the league? I think, you know, there are those legitimate, you know, reasons which people might call excuse, and that's fine if that's what you think. But around those injuries and bad decisions and what have you. But also there is the fact that we have been, and these are what controllable things, we haven't attacked with enough intensity, and we haven't moved the ball quickly enough at all, and we haven't been aggressive enough. And I think that contributes then to the lack of confidence we've seen from the players I listed earlier: Jesus, Martinelli, Trossard, Odegaard. Now, you know, all sort of comes together. So I think that's definitely sort of things that are, you know, that we can improve on. But I think we can improve on them. You know, maybe I'm being overly positive, but you know, I genuinely believe that this Arsenal side is not as bad as it is this season. I think the Manchester United side is as bad as it is this season, but I don't think the Tottenham one is, for instance. You know, and I think Arsenal is sort of in that sort of Tottenham camp. But, you know, undoubtedly, Mikel Arteta got it entirely wrong on Saturday from start to finish. And that will happen sometimes to any manager, any player. But I got his strong starting 11 because you want to secure second place. It's important. But it's the worst nightmare, which is you've got a whole load of minutes, 80, 90 minutes into key players' legs that they didn't need. You've lost the game. You've lost any chance of the momentum you wanted to build before the game. And now you've got to go and put it right for Paris Saint-Germain. it's a horrible nightmare. And I'm pretty sure that's what I discussed in the video I recorded for tomorrow today.
There we go. There we go. We got an exclusive early little preview there.
We'll find out tomorrow. Because I genuinely can't remember what I said at 9 o'clock this morning when I recorded it. But it's something like that.
But yeah, just quickly, before we move to the PSG game, on the Premier League, right? We've got 3 games left. Newcastle, Liverpool at Anfield, Newcastle at home, Southampton last game of the season, right? We're currently obviously second. City are now 3 points behind us. We're on 67. I worked it out today. Like, the worst comes to worst, second place is not secure. We could drop down and down if other teams, and I know a few teams play each other below us, but if we lose against Liverpool at Anfield, which you know the record's awful there, Newcastle as well, we had not scored against them. We lost 3 games in a row against them.
Newcastle are our kryptonite this season.
Yeah, no, they are. They've really worked us out how to play us. And Southampton, you would expect, they're bottom of the league. You would expect us to go there and get something. But we saw what happened a few years ago when they was bottom of the league, when we was in the title race, the 3-3 game. So if we're not careful, we could drop. I still think Champions League football will get, but from second to maybe like 4th or 5th, and you win not the Champions League this season, that's a huge decline, is it not?
Yeah,
a huge digression.
For me, that's a sackable offence. If you don't win anything this season and you finish 5th outside of the top 4, then yes, you got Champions League, whatever, but 5th, we're literally right back to where we were when we first rebuilt this team pretty much into competing for titles. We're back where we started. And in fact, no, we're back where Wenger was at the time. 2016, second, season, and then back to bloody 5th. So it's just it's been a horrible season, unless if we do obviously win the Champions League, and it could prove to be disastrous, I can't lie, especially with the teams around us who've already lifted silverware this season. You look at Newcastle, Man City could potentially win the FA Cup. Liverpool have already won the league. Chelsea could win the Conference League. Like, that matters because you don't get in the Champions League through the Conference League, do you? I think it's Europa League, if I'm not mistaken.
Europa League, I think it is, yeah.
Either Spurs or Man United, who are 15th and 16th, to win the Europa League, and then we don't win anything. Ooh. I mean, how can anyone sit there and justify that this isn't a sackable offence if we don't win anything? The teams around us win silverware, and we finish outside of the top 4. The thing is with the Liverpool game, right? I think this is our best opportunity to beat Liverpool at Anfield, despite it meaning absolutely nothing. But then again, you want to make sure we can secure top 4 for crying out loud.
100%, man.
So I would like to win at Anfield, and I think with them already winning the league, they might still be on the piss. I don't know.
You'd hope so. I mean, they got smoked by Chelsea, didn't they, earlier? For the 3-1 game. So you
depending on if, of course, we reach the final, I could see us resting players, to be honest. And Liverpool going full strength, potentially, I don't know.
I don't think you need to rest players against Liverpool, do you? Because you've still got a little while to the final.
Yeah, true.
I mean, obviously, if players are in the red zone, you're going to need to do that. But I think that applies whether you beat PSG or not.
Yeah. I think for us to drop out of the Champions League, I'm pretty sure everyone around us has to win all their games.
We'd have to lose all 3, I think.
We have to lose all 3, yeah.
Yeah. We've also got Southampton, which I can't lie, playing like this, I don't think I've got too much confidence that we'll beat Southampton either, but I think we will beat Southampton considering they are relegated already. But still, Newcastle and Liverpool, like, we could end the season with 6 losses potentially. Wow. And you need at least 3 or 4, I'd say, to win the league, and at least 6 or 7 draws.
Yeah.
So, and also unbeaten at home. But at home, it's been a problem, not just this season, but for the last 2 years. It's been a problem where we've been conceding silly goals and we've turned complacent. So I don't know what's going on at home. Away from home, I don't really have too many complaints. Although this season we've dropped far too many points away from home as well. So I don't know. It's a difficult one to swallow, and Nottingham Forest has just scored against Crystal Palace. So
Is that
that's
1-1?
1-1, is it?
Yeah, 1-1. So
Okay.
I cannot believe I'm keeping an eye on these flipping results. I really can't.
Yeah.
We should be at least taking this to the last day. If we, I'd say, turned at least 7 or 8 of them draws into wins, we would be in the mixer.
Yeah.
Okay, goal difference, but at the same time, like, I don't know. And speaking of goal difference, I think that could be handy, to be fair, if you compare everyone else in the top 4, top 6. I reckon we will get top 5, top 4 anyway, but it's mad that
That's how bad we're saying that. Yeah.
Yeah.
The way how are we saying this after what we've been through the past couple of seasons, man?
Yeah.
Getting that close, and now it's like we've just gone backwards completely, man, this season.
Yeah. The thing is, right, if you want to play this pragmatic style of football, at least buy a world-class striker to do it, pretty much, to get you over the line if you want to play this pragmatic style, right? If you're playing a more attacking approach, that's where, okay, I understand. I understand why you are playing this false 9. Hence, I was saying at the time that, no, Jesus is fine if we want to play with this style of football, this kamikaze style back in 23. Right, I kind of went along with it. I was like, yeah, Jesus is good enough to definitely get us over the line if we're going with this style. But if we want to play this pragmatic style where we're only scoring from set pieces, and we want to score the perfect goal, some might say, where we love to pass it and not take crackers from outside the box, then at least have a striker who can pounce on them loose balls, because we love to cross it in. Marino's doing a decent job, but he's not a striker. So if we don't get a striker this summer, I don't know what to say.
I'll be stunned if we don't.
Yeah.
Yeah, honestly, if we do not get a striker this summer, then I mean, I don't know what to say. Surely Burton can see it. Surely.
Nah, he will.
I think Arsenal could see it last summer, right? I mean, I think they went for Sesko. I think, look, I've done the numbers, and I've always said money has been tight this year for FFP. So I think Sesko was the budget striker that they could get on the right deal. And I think actually we didn't see anyone go for Gyökeres, Osimhen or Isak right in the summer, and I think there were reasons behind that. And I don't just mean Arsenal here; I mean across the board. Osimhen wanted stupid wage. I think I worked out the other day that your base salary is almost $500,000 a week. I think it was 440 before any kind of bonuses, and that's just not going to be sustainable for most Premier League sides. Like, if he plays twice a week and he wants 50 grand a game, well, that's 540. Let's say he scores a goal, that's another 50, and it gets daft, right? And then there were questions about Isak's fitness, which I think he's largely put to bed this year. And there were questions about whether Gyökeres could sustain it, or whether it was a one-season thing, or could he sustain it? And I think all those questions have been answered. I think Arsenal will go for a striker. I suspect it will be Gyökeres or Sesko. I think Isak is probably going to stay at Newcastle, particularly if they get Champions League football. So I think Arsenal
as well.
Yeah, go on.
Sorry to interrupt, but I'm hearing that Sesko is worth
£80 million release clause.
Yeah, no, it's not a release clause. I don't think. I think it's valued at like 80-90 million this summer. Which, I mean, to be fair, 21 goals.
Euros or pounds?
Euros.
Pounds, I think. Or is it euros?
Pounds,
definitely.
Yeah, we're talking at least 70 million, right?
Yeah, and he scored 21 goals in all fairness in all comps, but again,
a poor side this season.
Yeah, he's had a good season considering Leipzig have been very underwhelming. But again, he's 20 years of age. I think right now we need that finished article, to be honest. I'll give Sesko another season.
Yeah, but if Sesko's going to be the main striker, right? He's not.
I'm saying Gyökeres, definitely. He's the most realistic option because he's worth less than Sesko.
Well, yeah, he is. But this will be typical Arsenal and typical Mikel Arteta end up paying all this sort of money for Benjamin Sesko. We should be going all out on Gyökeres. Right?
Nah, to be fair, we do like to penny pinch at times, don't we? We don't really go for the expensive option, do we?
No.
Apart from Declan Rice.
Yeah, apart from Declan Rice, obviously. But
the trouble is, right, people are going to overhype this Sesko situation. I personally don't rate the kid, right? I think he's another Kai Havertz, right? And I really think
I think they're a big
difference. I think that's harsh. I think he's better than Havertz, but
I don't think he settles in the Premier League. I think if you get someone like Gyökeres, right, he knows that he scores goals. He ain't going to turn out being another Darwin Núñez.
No, I don't think so either.
The thing is, right, either one we must go and get.
The thing is, Gyökeres molds into exactly what Arteta's looking for. The guy used to be a winger, so he could drift over to the flanks in case we want to move Martinelli into that false 9 position in game. Because I've seen Gyökeres drift out wide plenty of times whenever he's played for Sporting.
Particularly in that left channel.
Yeah. So, so it'll be perfect, definitely.
I think the thing with... Oh God, sorry, Rory. There was
I was just going to say before you eventually get onto your point, but with the Bournemouth game at the weekend and the fact Declan Rice, our CDM, is making that run for the goal, it kind of does give me hope with Odegaard, right? That if he has runners, then he can tally up more goals, assists, whatever. Or GA, as all the tacticians like to say, right? GA. Right. I think if Gyökeres was there, he's always willing to occupy that space, isn't he? Where Declan Rice scored at the weekend. So it gives me hope in that scenario that if Odegaard is given runners, because through the middle, right, we've not been utilising that properly, have we? It's always Saka, Martinelli, and then there's like 2 or 3 players already on them. And then once they nullify our wingers, we have no clue because we have no striker. Odegaard's drifting out to the right to link up with Saka. And even so, he's not, the sort of guy to make them forward runs. He just isn't.
He's a facilitator, isn't he?
Like a Cunha would, or because obviously Cunha used to be a striker. He's now predominantly a centre attacking midfielder, isn't he? He's a 10. So I don't know. At the moment, I don't see Odegaard and Saka linking up as we saw before Odegaard's injury, before obviously Saka eventually got injured. And that was another excuse for him. Oh, we didn't have Saka for a few months. He's now got Saka back, and for me, he's looking worse.
I mean,
I think people have ran for Odegaard at the moment, and I have as well, to defend him all season long.
Yeah.
But you know what? If you are given 60, 70 million, I'd bite your hand off for that. I really would. Obviously, for 30, 40 million, no. I would not be selling him for that amount. But I would consider upgrading him in the summer.
Yeah.
I've completely gone off topic towards the end of towards the end of what I was saying there, but yeah, I just had to bring it up.
I mean, just quickly back to Josh's original question, right? I mean, I discussed Odegaard. I'm not taking the money for him in the summer. I think it'd be fine, but I think your point on runners is a big one, right? There haven't been those runners. It goes back to what I was saying earlier about it's been too conservative. And just quickly before I sort of answer Josh's original question, but on Gyökeres versus Sesko, I'm not worried if it's Sesko, but Gyökeres is definitely my preference because I think he's that finished article. I think Sesko is a different player to Havertz. I think he's more willing to have a shot. I think he's a slightly different type of player, but he's certainly raw, and that's the risk you have. I think if you bring in Šeško, I don't want to see Nico Williams as the wide player brought in. I think that's 2 raw players, and I'd worry about that. I'm worried. That, as a pairing, that would worry me more. both potentially have high ceilings, but I don't want to see two raw wingers. But if we say brought in Semenya, for instance, I'm then less worried if Sesko is a number 9 option. But to your question on the regression of the season, I think if you finish second and you finish in the Champions League semi-final and you get a League Cup semi-final, the points are definitely, it's definitely a progression in terms of in terms of points. It's definitely a regression in terms of watching us. It's definitely a regression in terms of performances. No question about that.
Yeah,
but you could argue it's on par with last season, and we all know this has been a poor season. And I think if Arteta, there's a lot of ifs there, right? Because second is now seriously in jeopardy. And none of it's massive, right, if we win the Champions League. But that's also a big if. We'll talk about it in a minute. But like Luca, I'm not confident about Wednesday night.
I'm not confident going into Wednesday night.
Neither.
But this is the thing. Like, this fan base all believe that we can end up beating PSG away from home.
I don't think it's beyond the realms of possibility. But if you ask me now, I wouldn't put my house on it. But Josh's question was, is it a regression this season? I think if in the scenario you finish second, Champions League semi-final, League Cup semi-final, FA Cup third round, it's not actually that much worse than last season. I think I said at the start of the season, this was a season where you won the league with about 85 points. Liverpool will probably get a little bit more than that. And I think Liverpool are worthy champions, but I also don't think they're a 90-point team. I think everyone has been poor this season, and they've been the only ones largely unhit by injuries and what have you. And they've used that momentum and they've got going, and they almost believe they've won it, and everyone kind of believes they've won it. And the two things are sort of snowballed together. But Liverpool worthy winners. I'm not taking that away by any stretch, just to be really clear. And Arsenal have definitely been poor, but I'm not. Yeah. For me, the reason, look, I said at the start of the season, if Arteta doesn't win anything, you sack him. Now, I have changed that because I was wrong because we didn't. But second, you've got to admit when you get things wrong, and that was something I got wrong. The reason I don't is because I genuinely think there are some. Well, I've said repeatedly what I think he's got wrong. I think there are issues this season that haven't been entirely within his gift of control. And I look back on, say, Jurgen Klopp 2 seasons ago, finished 5th with a side that had just competed for the league the year before and then went back to competing for the league last season. And I think the reason they didn't win it last season was because they were playing that style that Rory was alluding to a couple of years ago when we had Jesus up front. It was frenetic, it was scatty, and I don't think you can win the league like that. I think you have to win the league playing controlled football like we did last year, like City did last year. Generally, and that is what Slot has changed, and that's where he deserves the credit. And Liverpool were champions. But I think we can get back to that. And I think because of the situations around some of the injuries and decision making, and also Arsenal choosing to drop points. To your point earlier, Luca, do we definitely beat Real Madrid if we don't rest players against Everton and Brentford? I think we're either side of Real. I don't know, but there's no guarantee you win it. It's a really good. It's a what if.
There's no guarantee whether if we would have took the league title very seriously, if Arsenal were in a title challenge this season from August to May, because last season we took Man City to the final day. I was at the game.
Yeah.
And the majority.
Your mum was in the newspapers as well.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah, I was with my bucket hat. But at the time, look, if we were that serious in the title challenge, we would have. I don't know if we would have beaten Real Madrid. Nobody doesn't know.
Exactly. I think you've got a really good point. We don't know, but it's a good question to ask.
But the thing is, like, this season is like, it's been such a very, very like disappointing season. Like, we've drawn like 13 draws or something like that this season. It's like we just
only 13. I thought it was about 20. No,
it feels like it's 20, 25 draws. But I don't know where we are in the form table, but I'm sure we're not in the freaking top 6.
We've won 1 in 5.
1 in 5, 3 in 10, I think, is it?
So
and that was against Ipswich, for crying out loud. They were relegated.
But this Wednesday is so important. And look, going into that PSG game, can we beat PSG?
Go on, start us off then, Luca. We moved to the game Wednesday. Go on. No, you can go first. You start us off.
Channel, bro. You know what I'm saying? But
you're taking over, mate. No, I'm joking. Start us off, Luca, bro. On Wednesday, we're 1-0 down. Just quickly, I'll get your thoughts on the first leg, everyone.
For me, right, let's go back 6-7 days ago, whenever it was, right. PSG in the first leg, we went into that game at the Emirates, buzzing after Real Madrid, right?
Yeah.
And I was confident going into that game. I always thought we were going to concede.
Yeah.
I thought when Arteta named that lineup, happy. That's the best lineup we've gone for. That's what we've got. We've got a few injuries and all that stuff, and some of them are not coming back till next season. So I really thought the first leg we were crap the whole game, majority. And in that first 15, 20 minutes, majority of that first half, PSG's midfielders, Vitinha, Juan Neves, they are world-class players, right? These are midfielders that Arsenal should be going for if Odegaard doesn't step up next season. And they literally bullied our midfield. Declan Rice couldn't try to do things himself. He couldn't do anything.
Nah.
I thought he was Arsenal's best player, right?
No question.
And for me,
Declan Rice. I'd say Lewis Skelly as well.
I think Lewis Skelly was not bad, right? But
I think it was decent.
I think that was Lewis Skelly.
But the thing is, in that first half, they allowed to control the midfield. We were very poor. And we looked very, very nervous. This is an Arsenal team. What we got now from 15, 16 years ago, from 2009 against Man United on Wednesday, the 5th of May, 2009, we lost to Man United 3-1, yeah? Right? And majority, that's a different Arsenal team. We had people like Mikel Silvestre and them lot back in the day, yeah? And mate, Mikel Silvestre, mate. Good old Silvestre. Pascal Sagan in 06. But this is the thing, right? This is an Arsenal.
We're not going back
team.
to Sendros, are we?
No. This is an Arsenal team that doesn't have an experience of a semi-final Champions League. This is an Arsenal team, right? For me, has never been to a Champions League semi-final, and I really thought we were very, very nervous and we were very, very poor and pragmatic.
Yeah,
and I just felt like PSG controlled that game.
I mean, look at their goal, Luca. Look how well worked it was.
How can you go and concede in the third minute, right? In the third, fourth minute, you're 1-0 down. I think, okay, 1-0 down. Arsenal will come back. They'll respond. But we never responded. That Mikel Moreno goal, that was offside. Definitely.
Yeah, it was offside, yeah.
Definitely offside.
No denying.
We are so lucky, right, that the game was only 1-0, which is given a bit of a little slim chance going into that game. And now we've got potentially maybe Timber out for the game. I think he's going to play.
Yeah, I
hope his mind games. Yeah.
I think you risk him anyway, right?
You have to risk him because like, even if he doesn't look 100% fit, give him 45 minutes. If we're somehow winning the game, majority, and say, like, how do I explain? Like, if we're 1-0 up in the first leg, like, to go and beat PSG, my confidence going into that second leg, we have to be 110% spark. We have to have a performance like beating Man City 5-1 resistance. I know the Premier League and the Champions League is different competition.
Madrid.
Physical. The Champions League is like a knockout stage. Arsenal have to perform like they did against Real Madrid home and away. We are capable of being PSG, but in my opinion, am I confident going into this game? Do I think we'll do it? No. I don't think so. And I'm not trying to be negative or anything like that, or like.
Do you think Thomas Partey could be the key to be in the midfield though?
Yeah, look, for me, Thomas Partey was pretty much the player who we really missed in that first leg. And majority, like Declan Rice, look, we all know when Partey plays with Rice, we are a different team. We know that Rice can allow to go forward and do his thing. Same as Odegaard. They can go and do their thing and that. But
their thing.
Mate, sorry. Words need to be sorted out. But no, look.
I was getting Aubameyang vibes in.
But no, look, I kind of like just feel like that second leg, we have to win that game, right? To go and beat PSG, right, away from home, right, you need to score first. You need to, if they score first, the tie's done. Or you just think about it and think, okay, you're 1-0 down, you go and win the game 3-1 or 2-1 and take it to extra time, right? Just think about it like that. But if we play like we did in that first leg, see you later, bro. The season's done. Do I think we'll get to the final? No, I don't think so. I think we'll give them a good game. But if we do somehow pull it, I think we can win it. And I said it from that Real Madrid game. Remember, Josh, when I came on that match reaction last week, I went all out and all that stuff. The comments were crazy.
Yeah.
Well, like even in my stream last week, I think for me, if we somehow pull the trigger and beat PSG, I think we can win it. And I'm not just saying it just to be a flip flop, right? But I was a flip flop in the past. But majority, I don't want to bring back that subject again from last Tuesday with what we said in like Rory knows what I'm on about. Yeah.
Well, when you try to cook people, when you said the same thing.
We'll find out Wednesday.
It's exactly what I was gonna say.
We'll find out Wednesday night. See if Mikel Arteta can prove to me, right, if he can get to the Champions League final, because results at the moment are looking very, very bad, lackluster.
Yeah.
And Thomas Partey for me is just a very important midfielder we must play. My lineup wise.
No, hold on. We'll ask everyone that. We'll ask everyone that. He's skipping. Let's just take over the show. Go on. Just take over, mate.
I'll take over, mate.
No, we'll get to that in a minute, Luca. I just asked other lads about what they made of the first leg and what we need to change.
Yeah,
I'll come to Dom. Obviously, that first leg, very disappointing start. You'd think when we got the equalizer, I know that was offside, but that given a bit of momentum. I mean, we had two big chances, didn't we, from Trossard and Martinelli? But on the flip side, so did PSG. I think the Barcola one was apparently offside anyway. But
I think the Ramos, sorry.
Were they both offside?
Yeah, I think they were both offside anyway.
Oh, okay. But even so, I mean, they showed that they can be good on counter attack. But 1-0 down. Firstly, what did you make of that first leg, man? Very disappointing not to score, right, as well.
Yeah, I mean, look, like Luca, I went into that with hope. You've got to. I mean, firstly, I think you've got to believe. I think it's important. But secondly, Real Madrid gave you a lot of hope, and as I say, we don't win the Champions League. It's a regression all round. As I was sort of alluding to earlier, at best you've level parred in some aspects, but everything else is pretty much a regression. But as I say, I can live with it for 1 year. It doesn't make me happy, but it is what it is. But in terms of the first leg, it was incredibly disappointing. Really poor start. I wonder if that's where we really missed Thomas Partey the most. Not necessarily his performances, but his relationship with Rice. They're just used to playing together, because I thought that all started with Rice and Moreno being too far apart, and that's not to criticise the players themselves. I just think that's a sort of relationship thing where you're not quite used to where each other are, and you're just that little further apart. And I wonder if that would happen if Partey was on the pitch. Don't get me wrong, the defending was awful for that opener, and I think whether Arsenal got caught up in the occasion from the experiencing, as Luca was pointing out, and maybe there was some of that, or whether it was, do you know what? We were shocked by the intensity of Paris Saint-Germain. Either way, it's got to be a disappointment, because Paris Saint-Germain have been doing that a lot this season. That shouldn't have been a surprise. There is, certainly since Christmas, maybe there's it, and then it happens, and the two, you can't quite sort of see it before it happens to you. But I think that can't happen on Wednesday, and Arsenal have experienced that now, so they know what they're dealing with, and we have to make sure that we nullify them in the first 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Even if that is like a Man City away second half performance for 20 minutes. Sit in, try and take the sting out of it, and defend for your lives. I think we need to be more progressive than that. But even if we have to do that for 20 minutes, they cannot score, and we have to nullify that attack, and we have to wear them out in those first 20 minutes, because they're going to throw everything at us. And I think that was the key. That's where the game was really won and lost. After that, I thought it was a fairly even game. I don't think we played very well. I think we were average. But I think it was summed up by someone, and I can't remember who it was. I saw a tweet that said that game could have ended 3-1 to Paris Saint-Germain, or 3-0 to Paris Saint-Germain, or 3-1 to us. And I don't think that's quite true, but I got the point, which is either side could have won it. Both had chances. I think Moreno's header goes in. Oh, well, it goes in, but it isn't offside. And it was offside. That's a potential game changer. Donnarumma makes a couple of good saves, but I don't think there can be any complaints about Paris winning that first leg 1-0. And that leaves it all to do. And like Luca, I'm not confident about beating Paris tomorrow night. I'm not. I'm not shocked if we, not tomorrow night, Wednesday night. I'm not shocked if we do it. But if you're asking me to put money on it now, then I'm not going to go with an Arsenal win, because just look at how everything has gone for us this season. Nothing gives you confidence that it's going to be there from the way the season is going. So to win the game, I think there's several things you have to do. One, those fullbacks are going to have a good game again. I thought Ewan Timber struggled a little bit, but Miles Lewis was excellent. And I'm not taking anything away from Tim. He's been excellent all season. And Cavasquelia, Leo, or whatever it is. I haven't got it.
Dembele back now, past fit. We all
he's going to be.
Dembele's playing,
But that's going to be really, really important. I think Rice and Partey need to have a really good game, and they need to dominate that midfield. We spoke about it in the preview last week, right? You have to dominate that midfield physically. And we didn't. João Neves played as well as I expect him to. Vitinha was more physical than I expect him to be. I know he's technically able, but I've not seen that sort of physical performance from him before, from his Wolves days. I thought he was excellent last week. Arsenal have to dominate that midfield, and if they do that, they can get some control. And then, obviously, we have to take our chances, and something we've struggled to do all season. And they're the three things we had to do. And it's easy to say, that's not easy to do, and that's why I'm not overly confident. And I think we're going to have to score twice, as a minimum.
Yeah. What do you think needs to change, Rory, from Arsenal's performance from the first leg going into the second leg?
We got to score.
Obviously that. Of course.
Well, we're going against Bournemouth, but we need to score at least twice minimum.
Yeah.
And you know what? I'm kind of having nasty flashbacks from Bayern last season. I can't lie.
Yeah.
I just don't think the game will go the way we want it to go. In all honesty, but the thing about PSG, right, and the games I've watched, they've not been many, by the way, but the games I've watched, as far as I'm concerned, in the Champions League, they struggle with long balls. Hence, I think Mourinho up front and Partey back in midfield will be vital. Because
you're jumping
we need to long ball.
Eddie Nketiah had an offside goal, bro. Eddie Nketiah. Where's the Eddie Nketiah fans, man?
Tom
Red.
Tom Red. Luke likes Tom Red, don't you, Tom? Don't you, Luke?
He don't like me, so.
But yeah, with Mourinho, right, I think it'll come vital because, as I said, PSG are vulnerable when it comes to long balls. Whereas with Trossard, it was quite clearly evident that we were trying to play through them. And you don't want to do that against PSG. No. Right? You just can't outplay them because they are one of the best teams in Europe at doing that. If you want to go toe-to-toe with them, then it's a real struggle. It's the same with us. Like, we've experienced it many times. Like, whenever teams have gone toe-to-toe with us, we will batter them. Right, Real Madrid tried to do the same thing. We battered them over 2 legs. PSV did the same thing. We battered them over 2 legs. Although we didn't win the second leg, but it was practically done in the first leg. You know what I mean? So I feel like we've got to go into this PSG game with a different approach. I feel like we've got to. I'm not saying do it for the full 90 minutes, but when we catch them vulnerable, that's where I feel like we've got to lump balls over the top. Because Liverpool, I know they got knocked out.
I know what you mean, yeah.
Yeah, and when they got knocked out against PSG, I think it was the first leg when they won 1-0, they brought on Nunes, who's physical up top, isn't he? And pretty much after them getting battered all game, they lumped the ball over the top, and it was because of Nunes' hold-up play that sort of invited that space from both flanks. So I think Mourinho will be vital. Partey midfield, I mean, he's been one of our better players this season, hasn't he? By far our best midfielder, along with, obviously, Declan Rice. But, to be fair, I don't think there's any needs to go through the team, really, because it pretty much speaks for itself if everyone is fit. Me personally, if this was up to me, I would start Waneri.
I'll drop Odegaard, yeah.
Like I said in the first leg, I would have started Waneri in case we do have them transitional moments mid-game, because, again, Odegaard just takes way too many touches in my liking. So I think Waneri will come vital. Hopefully he does come on later, not later on in the game. What I'm on about early in the second half if things aren't going right. If PSG score in the first half, I think it's all she wrote for the tie. To be honest,
But if PSG,
if we score early, we're straight back in it.
Yeah.
So yeah, as Dom said, we need to score at least 2 or 3 goals minimum to get through in this tie. Sorry, that's the way it has to be. And we put ourselves in this situation, so
Yeah.
you got to go and do it.
first goal, then surely the tie is done, because or you can just treat it that Arsenal can go and win the game 2-1, take no extra time. You do what that PSG Liverpool game, because that PSG Liverpool game, PSG played for penalties. And
just don't take it to penalties.
No,
if it's extra time, then fair enough, but don't take it to penalties.
Hang on, if we do take it to extra time, can we substitute Neto for Raya in the 119th minute?
Yeah, facts.
Yeah, I mean, Tuchel's done that with Chelsea before.
I can't remember who the manager was at the time. Didn't a World Cup semi-final or quarter-final sub the keeper off and put on the then Newcastle keeper whose name escapes me. He was a Newcastle #1 at the time.
Wait, who did that?
The Dutch manager a few years ago in a World Cup quarter semi-final. Yeah, Tim Krul. Tim Krul was
Tim Krul, yeah, Tim Krul.
Luca, absolutely spot on. That was it. All I can remember him was a time-wasting keeper at the Emirates. I just remember him taking about 4.5 hours.
Tim Krul, of course, yeah.
I just remember being there going, "Come on, get on with it, you time-wasting cheating."
He was at Norwich, weren't he, as well, Tim Krul?
He was, but he was at Newcastle at the time, and he was at Newcastle when I remember him time-wasting at the Emirates, and I was absolutely livid.
Yeah. I mean, I would not have any confidence in a penalty shootout if it was going to go penalties. With Donnarumma in goal and the way Raya has been, like on penalties lately. I mean,
Whistle
if
blows.
you get the Raya from, Porto, or just Raya in the Champions League when it comes to penalty shootouts, let's put it that way, because every other penalty shootout is just it's been embarrassing. Whereas Donnarumma, I mean, despite Donnarumma not being great throughout his PSG tenure, he's always had a tendency of saving penalties.
Well, we spoke about it last week, didn't we, when we were putting together a combined 11? The difference between Raya and Donnarumma is Donnarumma is unquestionably the better shot stopper, but Raya is the sort of better all-round goalkeeper. And if it's going to penalties, you're putting your mortgage on Donnarumma saving one over Raya saving one.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, right now.
Yeah, of course. But yeah, I mean, team-wise, guys, I mean, it doesn't change really, does it?
One change.
Who?
Party comes in, Trossard comes out.
I'm sorry, Party, of course.
Yeah.
2 changes.
Yeah, I would make 2 changes.
Go on,
as well.
Luca.
Okay, right. Lineup wise, what I'd go for.
Neto in goal. Is that one of them?
No.
No, that's the 119th minute sub.
Yeah, 119th sub.
Right. For me, lineup wise, I'd go for Raya in goal. If Timber's fit, I'm praying, right? I'd go with Timber. If not, we'd have to go with Ben White. Centre halves, we know Saliba and Kivior. Left back, Lewis Skelly. Midfield, Partey, Rice, Ethan Wanyerny.
Yes, no Odegaard.
And then drop Odegaard. For me, up front, Saka, Martinelli, and Mika Moreno.
Okay, fair enough. So you're dropping Odegaard?
Yeah, drop Odegaard and Trossard.
I think Martinelli needs a good game, to be honest. Like, he really needs to show up.
Martinelli.
Because PSG will nullify Saka like they did in the first leg. They had like 6 players around him. They knew he was
PSG lost on the weekend, but they put a weak side out. So PSG have lost the 2 games in
10 changes.
They made 10 changes.
Probably the weakest defender in the Champions League, to be honest. Good going forward, but defensively he's a bit suspect. So
he is.
Martinelli needs a good game.
Who's
the worst defender in Champions League?
Rory, who's the worst defender?
Do you mean Hakimi?
You mean Hakimi?
Is there an echo?
Rory, do you mean Hakimi?
Hakimi, yeah.
Oh yeah, no, we was wondering like what you were saying, like the worst offender.
Yeah. I think he's pretty weak defensively, but going
Still
forward,
smells
he's
like a bloody
decent.
Greek cheese.
Oh, Hakimi, yeah, yeah, he does, don't he? Yeah, he does.
Can I have some Hakimi on that? You mean halloumi?
But yeah, I mean, yeah, go on,
Odegaard
Dom.
not being dropped. Let's be honest.
Nah,
But what
yeah,
I
I was
do,
gonna about to
and
say
I
that,
don't think
yeah.
you should either, because I think experience is important. But what we should do is, if he is playing poorly, is not be afraid to make that sub much
No.
earlier. And I'm talking like an hour tops, and that has
Yeah.
to be Owanieri on. I also think having Trossard as an option on the bench is makes for a much stronger bench, right? Because I think that's where Trossard is at his best, coming on. Right, and if someone can just piss him off for 60 minutes or so before he comes on, that all the better. Because when he's angry, he plays. But I think that's Trossard off the bench is a better option than Trossard starting.
Yeah, 100%. Before we move to some news, what's everyone's predictions? I'm going. Oh Jesus, I'm going 2-1 to Arsenal. This
He's
is
not
what my
available,
heart's
mate. He's
saying.
out.
Huh?
Jesus.
Oh yeah, yeah. I'm going. My heart's saying 2-1 to Arsenal, and we win on penalties. How are we gonna win on penalties though? That's a fucking.
No,
We ain't winning
Told
on
you.
penalties. We ain't winning on
Neto
fucking
comes on in
penalties,
the
no way.
190th minute.
Neto comes in.
Yeah, imagine fucking
But the
Neto.
thing is, Dom, how do you know that he's any good at penalties?
Well, he can't. I
He's
don't.
probably
But
worse than Raya.
Raya.
No, I'm fucking. I'm gonna go
He might
2-1.
be worse.
I'm gonna go 2-1 Arsenal. But my head's saying that we'll lose in normal time. To be honest, probably like 2-1 or 2-0. But what about you,
Or
Luca?
1-0, to be honest.
I think for me, right, 2-1 PSG. I'm not confident going into that game. I'm not confident because the way we're playing at the moment, I really hate being pessimistic and negative. I also want to back my team. I will back my team on the day when I do my watch along and reaction on the night. But for me, I'm going 2-1 PSG because I think the nerves are going to be there. I think PSG will be fully confident going from the first leg. And look, I don't feel confident. I hope Mikel Arteta proves me wrong. Some people said in the chat we're going to be in the Champions League final. That's your opinion, bro. But remember, if we don't get to the final, you know what's coming. But look, I think for me, I think PSG are going to beat us. To be honest, I don't see Arsenal going there. We are capable of doing it, but how are we going to do it? Is the mentality? Do they want it? Do they want it more than PSG?
Yeah, I agree.
Like the tie's half time. It's not over.
Yeah.
But I can't see us getting to the final after that performance. But that's my prediction. 2-1
2-1 PSG.
Yeah.
Okay. Dom?
I think 2-1 PSG kind of feels right. I was toying between that and 1-1. But yeah, I just think our form is not good enough at the moment. I mean, Arteta has proved people wrong before, and Arsenal proved people wrong before by going and getting results. I mean, he proved it recently against Real Madrid, but I'm just not convinced. And I think the fact that Paris Saint-Germain rested 10 at the weekend, and we got all our key players played 80 odd minutes for the most part. You know, that worries me because I think legs towards the end are going to be absolutely crucial. I feel more confident if we get through the first 20 minutes. But we've got to get through that first 20 minutes. But yeah, for me, it's Paris Saint-Germain 2, Arsenal 1. The only thing that makes me pause here is when the quarterfinal draw was called, I was like, please, I'm almost sort of having visions of 2006 and repeat final with Paris. Against Barca, which was obviously in Paris at the time. You know, I still kind of hold on to that and hope that I was right. But, you know, last year my predictions were fairly spot on. This year they've been fairly dire. So, you know, take that with a pinch of salt, right?
Yeah, there we go. Rory, what's your prediction, man?
I can see it being 1-0 PSG, I can't lie. Similar scenario to the Bayern game last season, to be honest. I've got a horrible feeling that they will just shithouse it, to be honest, PSG, because they know they've got a lead. And they know if they nullify our wingers, we practically have nothing. I think we'll play better than we did in the first leg, but I can see us losing, to be honest, because we've got to a situation where we have to go for it. We have to go full gun ho. We have pretty much nothing to lose at the moment.
Well, I'm not sure we do have to go all gung ho. Like, certainly not at the start, right? I think
not at the start.
Fairly pragmatic. I think as the game goes on, you've got to go for it more and more. But it will be interesting though, and it's how do Paris Saint-Germain approach this? Because they got the lead, right? Do they try and sit on it, or do they come and attack us? And that's going to be something that's going to be quite interesting for them to work through, right? You know, and you just wonder if Arsenal are 1-0, 60 minutes, and it's a big if. Then what do you do if you're Paris Saint-Germain, and then whether that sort of kicks in? That's kind of how you try and. We talked about how you win the game tactically, but there's a mental side of how you win the game. But there's a big if there, like huge if, and I'm not confident we get to that point. But it'll be interesting to see how Paris Saint-Germain approach the game, because if I'm them, I do similar to what I did in the first. I am going at Arsenal 20 minutes because you get that first goal. You get that first goal, Arsenal are done, and like Arsenal will know they're done. The fans will know they're done. And Paris have got 2 to protect, and they can definitely protect that. But it'll be interesting to see how they approach it.
Yeah, 100%, man. But yeah, you're going 1-0, yeah, to PSG, Rory.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, fair enough, man. Right, let's move to some news, because sorry, I'm eating a sweet, man. If that's why I'm. But let's move to some news, guys. Because I've got here
Dennis
we go.
Dennis the Menace is on the move.
Dennis the Menace, yeah. But Jorginho got here we go to Flamengo. Plan confirmed since January, until deal to be sealed for the midfielders, even in Arsenal in June. So it's obviously a free transfer. But yeah, going to Flamengo. But I mean, this is not surprising, to be honest. But I think as a player, I know we wanted Caicedo that window, and we got a bit disappointed that we didn't get Caicedo. But I mean, other than that Tottenham game that he had where he made that mistake, I think he's been all right, to be fair, as a signing. I don't think he's been too bad, to be honest. I think last season he had that run where Partey was injured. He had him and Declan Rice. Those were the games. I remember Liverpool, the 3-1 Newcastle, the 4-0. That run of games, he was superb. So yeah, I ain't been too sort of concerned about Jorginho since he's been here. I don't think he's been too bad.
I think Mel's done it in the Fabrizio Romano comments, hasn't she? She summed it up perfectly.
Oh, here we go. Look, no, hello Mel, you right? Yeah, we got Mel in the chat in the comments. But yeah, if she's watching this, she said it spot on here. He's been a loyal servant to the club, a leader to our youth and strong team player. He never complains to be on the bench or come off the bench. He hardly got injured. I wish him all the best for the future. Thank you for your time and service. There we go with us at the Arsenal.
I mean, I said it earlier about Jorginho. I mean, this is not a surprise, right? I mean, he went on holiday in March to Brazil and happened to go to the Flamengo area, right? I mean, it was obvious he was going then. You know, no contract talks have been happening, and you know, as Mel says there, you wish him well. I think he has been a decent signing. It's when we talk about signings, I think you have to look at about context of why they were bought, right? Jorginho was brought in to be a squad player, to come in, to not rock the boat, to challenge for positions, and to sort of play and give you that 6, 7 out of 10 when you're resting your players either for 30 minutes in a game or to start. And as you say, by that one mistake, and find me a player that doesn't make a mistake during the course of a season, you know, it's very rare, right? You know, he's done really, really well. But also where I think we're going to miss him more is less in his playing role, but more about what he sort of seems to bring behind the scenes. He's almost that sort of extra coach, sort of there supporting the players, been there, done it, got the t-shirt. And I think that's what we might miss more, but hopefully that will be somewhat mitigated by the fact that we've got sort of more experienced players in now than we did a couple of years ago. But yeah, he's been a good signing. You can't put him in the top drawer because he's not been sort of that transformative signing, but he came in, did exactly what was asked of him, and that's what makes him a good signing. And you know, he wants to go and play football, and that's fair enough. I just wonder if there might be a small transfer fee though, because I think they want him before the they want him before the FIFA, whatever it's called, the World Club Championship. So I'm currently first in the group, by the way, in mine. Just as we're talking.
What, in the World Cup?
Yes, mate. Yeah.
How you
Yeah.
got that? Wait, is it on Football Manager then?
Yeah,
No.
2029, mate. That's why. Yeah.
Oh wow.
But what I was going to say, that's what I had to check the name of it. But if they want him, then I suspect what will actually happen is that Arsenal will just not play Jorginho the last 3 or 4 weeks of his wages, and they'll just start his contract early. I suspect that's what will really be done. But I'm assuming this deal will go through before that rather than after that, because technically he's not out of contract till the 1st of July.
Yeah. Yeah. True.
Basically, Arsenal will save a couple of £100,000, and that'll be it.
Yeah. Yeah. Rory, what do you make of this sort of deal, man? Him leaving?
Yeah, it was inevitable, wasn't it? We knew he was going to be leaving.
You didn't buy he was on holiday?
What?
This guy, man. Oh, but yeah, he's been a good servant to the club. In all fairness to him, he stepped in, he's done a job, but it's the right time to move on, isn't it? Like, he is what, 33? I believe.
I don't think he's that old.
He's joining David Luiz. He's joining David Luiz, is he not?
He might be. I didn't think he was 33. I thought he was 31, 32. I'm just going to have to check now.
Yeah, that David Luiz plays for Flamengo as well, don't he?
So
he's 33.
Sure, yeah, I'm pretty sure both of them are familiar with each other. So it's nice to see that we've actually acted on this. Like, I'm pretty sure if this was Edu in the past, or perhaps A2, I'm pretty sure we might have extended him for another year. But Berta, I like the fact he's gone straight in there.
Arsenal apparently did sort of speak to him about what he wanted to do. That's why it's been sort of done since January, which is obviously pre-Berta. That this was sort of coming because he wanted to go and play, which is understandable. So I think Arsenal did want to extend him. I wonder if it's also why Partey is now suddenly in talks, because otherwise you've got to replace them both.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I didn't want none of this Don Tornetto BS, or let's keep all the pensioners like they're a family and we need to upgrade, you know what I mean? And for me, and I'm going off topic, but I think with Partey, it's important we extend him now, because you're having to then replace both Jorginho and Partey. So I reckon Jorginho going is fine, but now you've got to extend Partey, because I don't feel confident that Arsenal are going to replace both Jorginho and Partey in one window.
Yeah.
So I feel like you let Jorginho go and then keep Partey for another year. That's something that I'm willing to do. But yeah, like last season with Jorginho, he stepped into some big games, lots of Man City, Liverpool, did a job. He formed a really nice partnership alongside Declan Rice last season, and obviously the goal against Aston Villa, which I know was counted as an own goal, but the adrenaline was through the roof at that stage. You've never seen Jorginho hit a ball like that before.
No.
So, yeah, I mean, good luck to him, and I hope we do win the Champions League this season to you know, give him a good send off, because he deserves it. Like he's been a good squad player over the year. Yeah, a good sub to come on in like the last few minutes to see out the game.
He's a type of player squads need in the Champions. You know, when you're trying to win things, aren't they? That's just that dependable pro that comes on for 20 minutes. You know, but you know, as you say, I think you can upgrade him in the summer. He wants to go and play, and that's fine.
Yeah, exactly. Luca, what's your quick thoughts on Jorginho, bro, leaving? No, you're muted.
You're on mute.
I'm muted. Sorry, my bad. But no, I think for me with Jorginho, J20 has been a very good servant to the football club. Of course, it was either him or Caicedo at the time when we got him in the 2022-2023 season. No, I think he's been a good servant. His best game in an Arsenal career was that Newcastle game 2 seasons ago.
I forgot about that.
When the last time we ever won at Newcastle. And
probably say Liverpool, actually.
Yeah, and I remember that was a 5:30 kickoff, and majority Jorginho for me has been a good servant to the football club. He's in the midfield. He can do a job when he can. He's got calm. It's a bit like Mohamed El Neni. And majority, look, fair play to him. He had to go. Would I have given him another contract? No. Because for me, look, it wouldn't be the end of the world if he did stay for another season, but he didn't want to stay. He was coming to his career. Arsenal didn't offer him a deal. And I wish him good luck going to Brazil. And originally, Jorginho should have played for Brazil, not the Azzurri, not for Italy.
He's Brazilian, isn't he? But he's born there.
So it makes sense, doesn't it?
It makes sense for him to go to Flamengo. And look, Jorginho, for me, look, we're going to need replacements. If Thomas Partey stays for another year, maybe this replacement is coming in for Zubimendi. Let's wait and see. But look, overall, I think Jorginho has been a good service to the club. He needed to go anyway. I wouldn't have given him another deal, to be honest.
Yeah, fair enough.
I'd have given him another deal if Partey was definitely walking, right? But he sort of he then becomes the El Neni figure, right? Which is your sort of fifth choice midfielder, right? Just to be in and around. But that's the only reason I would have done it. I would have done it more for, depth rather than to. He's a signing to not play, if that makes sense. He's just your insurance policy. But
yeah, definitely, man. But let's move on to this one today. So Arsenal apparently joined the race to sign 20-year-old winner Jamie Gittins per RMBVB. I don't know how good these are.
Apparently he is very reliable, to be fair.
Really? Okay, there we go then.
He's one of the few reliable sources for Germany.
That's interesting then. So the Englishman has already announced his departure in the Borussia Dortmund dressing room. Would you like to see Arsenal sign the young forward? So yeah, he's left winner, right?
Can play either side.
I can play both sides. Okay,
but predominantly you're right. Yeah, he plays on the left.
Yeah. But 20 years of age. The only thing I can't say I've seen a lot of him, to be honest. But yeah, 20 years of age. I know we're Arteta really wants Williams. I know that's one that's been going around. But could this guy be an alternative? I'll start with you, Luca, first, bro. What do you think about Jamie Gittins?
Not for me.
Not for you.
Not for me. No.
Yeah, of course he was going to say that.
Not for me.
Why not?
He's crap.
If it's someone who doesn't,
he's crap.
If it's someone who hasn't heard of, he'll say
he's crap, mate. Arsenal should not be going for 20 years.
How do you know he's crap?
He's crap, right?
How do you know?
This guy doesn't get many goals for Borussia Dortmund, right? We should not be going for 20-year-old wingers, right? We're Arsenal Football Club, and we should be.
He's got 8 goals this season.
Yeah, 8 goals.
Yeah, Dortmund have been crap this season.
Dortmund are crap, right? They're not good when they had Lewandowski and Hummel.
And he's a 20-year-old.
But I don't want this kid at Arsenal Football Club. Arsenal should be going for someone better, right, as a backup to Bukayo Saka. And majority, look, this guy might have potential talent, but right now we shouldn't be going for this guy. Not for me. Jamie Gittins should not be the priority for Arsenal.
He's a second top scorer.
Yeah, he's their second top goal scorer, but that's his level.
Southampton must have a Southampton must have a second top goal scorer too. It doesn't mean they're good, but I mean,
they're not a Premiership club; they're a Championship team now. And
I know, but like Dortmund have got the likes of Julian Brandt, Pascal Gross.
I'd rather take Julian Brandt over this guy.
No,
he's got 4 goals all season.
Yeah, but he's experienced. People know
experience.
People know the name of Julian Brandt. Look, I don't want Gittins nowhere near my football.
So why don't you want him?
He's crap.
Yeah, innit?
He's crap. He's crap.
He's level. Not for me. And Arsenal should be going for better wingers. Go and get me Semenyo from Bournemouth.
Oh my dude, Luca.
Resistance. We need if we want to win the league, right? With Mikel Arteta, we should not be.
And you want Semenyo from Bournemouth?
He's quality, bro. It's a quality.
Yeah, it was quality at the start of the season, but
season.
Since the turn of the year, he's not been great.
Not recently, no, but I feel like in an Arsenal team, I think he can be okay. He's not like a woe.
Okay,
like that.
Is okay good enough for the league?
I think Semenyo will be good. Or if you don't get, go and get Ademola Lookman. We're Arsenal Football Club. We should be going for these type of people, not people like Jamie Gittins.
But have you heard of him?
Yeah, I have. I've seen him.
No, you haven't. You haven't heard of him.
I've watched him this season, and that's it. Last season, I didn't know who he was.
How many games have you watched of him this season?
I've only watched him in the Champions League. I don't watch the German league. It's not my thing.
And which games did you watch in the Champions League?
When Dortmund played there when they got knocked out in the Champions League.
Against who? Barcelona.
Barcelona, wasn't it? Yeah.
What you watched him?
Yeah, I watched the highlight. I only watched it from highlights. I don't think he's not all that. Right? He's not world class.
Yeah, I'm not saying he's world class, but like, let me ask you this, right? Who, apart from Lookman, who I'm willing to take, right? Who else out there are you willing to take? Like, who else is out there to take that left wing spot? There's been no
Lookman.
Okay, I said aside from Lookman.
Semenyo from Bournemouth.
From Dortmund.
Williams
as well. Nico Williams is better than this kid.
No, he's not.
I think he's way better than Jamie Gittins.
All right. So no for you.
No for me, mate.
What about you, Dom, on this Jamie Gittins guy? Because I don't know a lot about him, mate. To be honest.
I mean, all I know about him is that he's he can play. He can use both feet. He can play on either wing, and that dribbling is his best asset. And clearly, that's something Arsenal are looking at. You're sort of seeing us linked with Nico Williams. What's his best sort of attribute? Getting at players, going directly at them, and trying to go past them. Which I think is something Arsenal need a bit different. I think he's obviously a cheaper alternative, and I think when you look at Arsenal right this season. A lot of the big clubs last summer didn't do a lot of business. So you're going to probably see 4, 5, 6, 7 players come in for Arsenal this season. And they're not going to be alone. Liverpool, I think, will bring in similar, possibly City as well, even though they did some business in January. And I think that will be replicated across Europe because last year's window for the top team was quite muted across Europe. So I think if you're looking at Gittins, you're probably looking around 50 million, but his wages are going to be substantially lower. Yeah. I think he's a similar sort of profile from what I've sort of seen and read about him to Williams. And if he's a cheaper one, that gives you more money elsewhere. Because I think Arsenal, you're probably looking at a defender because I think Kivior's going. You're looking at a goalkeeper. You're looking at least one, if not 2 central midfielders, 1 or 2 wingers and a striker. And I'd say I don't think you need 2 wingers and 2 central midfielders if one of those central midfielder is someone like Eze who can play on the wing as well.
Yeah.
And I would like to see Eze come in, but I think if Jamie Gittins comes in as the only wide option, I would be worried about that. I think if he comes in with an addition of someone else, I think that's when you can sort of get excited about him, right? So I think, you look at Arsenal's front line next year. Let's just say it's Gyökeres and Havertz as the sort of strikers. Jesus will obviously be there because we can't move him on, but he's obviously, not out there. You're looking at Saka, Wanyeri, Odegaard, Martinelli. I think we move Trossard on, and then it's say Gittins and say Eze, who can then fill in at number 8 as well if you need that option. I think that's kind of okay. Would he be my first choice pick? No. I mean, I think him, Semenyo, Williams, all fairly similar side players. I think Semenyo has the advantage from being Premier League sort of ready. I think Gittins and Williams are both going to be that raw option, and that's why I think if you see either of them come in, I kind of want to see another option. But we have got Martinelli who's improved as well, so I'm not against Gittins. I think to Rory's point, you're looking around the left winger market, and you're like, there's not sort of a standout, right? You're not sort of going, yeah, I want him.
Someone like we've been linked with Rodrigo. Not probably linked, but Rodrigo maybe though. If you want to go really big.
Yeah, I mean, that's going to be 100 million, isn't it? Right? But yeah, someone like that would. The problem's going to be how do you make the money go? Right? It's why I talk about the money this year. It's been tight. Yeah. You have to remember that we don't have unlimited resources. You've got to make it add up.
True. Yeah. Exactly.
And that's why I just don't see Rodrigo. You're looking 50 million Zubimendi, Rodrigo 100 million euros.
Yeah.
So let's call it 85 million. Then you're looking at say 60. Let's be honest, 60 million. Let's be conservative. You're looking at nearly 200 million on 3 players. You still need a goalkeeper.
True.
And you still need a defender. Assuming Kivior moves on. I mean, that's assuming Kivior moves on. Otherwise, I think you can get by. But I think now is the time to sell Kivior. I think he's done well, but now his value is at maximum. Now's the time to do that. And if you
when you do say, sorry to interrupt you, but when you do say 200 million on 3 wings on Rodrigo, does that mean that it's not going to happen? Because it means we'd have to go for cheap other option wingers to save more money on other positions.
Yeah, I mean, the point I was making was you've got to stack it all up, right?
Well, yeah.
So let's say we have 300 million this year, assuming we sell, and I'm just doing this really quickly, right? We sell Kivior, we sell Nelson, we sell Vieira, we sell Trossard, and then we save some money on some other players like Tierney leaving, right, in terms of wages. So let's just say, plus you've got Sambi Lokonga and you've definitely got Tavares money coming. Let's just say that gives you roughly £300 million to spend by selling them, and you've got 200 million-ish. You've got to do, in that scenario, goalkeeper, defender, at least one midfielder, that assumes Partey stays, if not it's 2, and it's at least one winger, and it's a striker at 6. If you're spending 200 million out of 3, you've got 100 for the others. Now, you could possibly make that work.
Yeah.
But it's more difficult, right? And I'm not saying it's impossible, but these are the things you do have to think through when you're going dream window. I mean, I'd like to see, Isak, Rodrigo, say Gittins, Eze, Zubamendi, and Jared Hato and
Hoyson,
or Hoyson and Garcia. It just doesn't work, right? You can't make that stack up financially, and that's where you sort of have to go. Where do Arsenal do it? And I think their priority is going to be that number 9. That's where they spend the big money. And that's why I just don't see Rodrigo happening. So in essence, on Gittins, I think he's a raw player. Again, like with Williams, you can go raw as your backup because you still have Martinelli and you still have Saka and you still got Nwaneri. But I think then you have to go for Gyökeres as your striker if you're going for Gittins as your wide player. But I'm definitely taking him if I'm bringing in 2.
Yeah. Nah, fair enough, man. Well said. What about you, Rory, bro? What do you even make of this Gittins to Arsenal?
Well, I'll say this now. I don't think Gittins is my number 1 choice, but I'll say this now. I think it's better than Williams, to be fair.
Okay.
That's something I will say. I feel like some fans have been brainwashed into the Euros, and the fact Williams had a great tournament, but that was over 8 or 9 months ago. This season he hasn't really kicked on, whereas Gittins, I think, despite him being 20 years old, I think Dom alluded to this earlier, where he mentioned if we bring in Sesko, who's 21, and then Gittins, who's 20 years of age, you've got 2 raw players there up top, which would worry me. I don't think that'll be good enough to then kick on. If you then sign a Gyökeres up front, with obviously Saka already, and then Gittins on the left, I've always said, I think, if you sign someone who is, direct, someone who is about 50, 60 million, I'd say, because I think the striker you've got to spend big money on, and obviously Saka is worth over 150 million, something ridiculous like that. So if you get someone like Gittins, who, to be honest, what I've seen of him, he looks way more direct than Williams does, for starters. And I know Luca's probably thinking, oh, see, Rodrigo. You are facing that risk if you're going for Rodrigo, that Madrid are then going to say,
Drop deal for Saliba.
yes,
Yeah.
you can have Rodrigo, but we want Saliba.
Yeah.
So that's something that you can't really deny. Of course, if we're serious, then Rodrigo on top of Saliba. But you can't stop Madrid from going, well, you can't then have Rodrigo, but then expect us not to ask for Saliba. So I think Gittins would be a decent signing. In terms of his potential, it would excite me. Considering Dortmund have not been great this season, I think if we get that number 9 in, either Isak or Gyökeres.
Yeah. It's not going to be Isak, let's be honest.
Nah.
Yeah, it's not going to be Isak, but you get Gyökeres,
yeah,
who's my only hope at the moment of us getting.
I thought Star was yesterday.
You what?
You're my only hope. I've only seen the film twice.
But yeah, like as I said, I wouldn't say no to this, but at the same time, obviously he wouldn't be my number one choice. I feel like Lookman would be mine.
Yeah.
Especially when Rodrigo, yes, he's available, but then you're facing that risk with Saliba getting involved, and you don't want that happening.
Damned expensive as well. You know,
Yeah.
and I you know, from a fan point of view, great. I don't care, but you just have to be realistic. I mean, D'Angelo's talking here. I mean, I assume Gittins at 50 million because he's valued at 50 million euros. So I sort of put in Dortmund don't want to sell. It depends how much he's pushing in, but he's saying it's 60 mil. So let's see. I think, you know, if you're paying Nico Williams money for him at 50 mil, then, you know, in some ways, he's more attractive even at 60 because it's not a release clause, so you don't have to pay it in one go. So from a PSR point of view, you can spread it.
What about if someone like Luis Diaz is available end of the season?
Luis Diaz is a player I like.
No. I don't think he's good enough.
Really?
Really?
Yeah. Like, how old is Luis
winner
Diaz?
at Liverpool though? He's experienced.
Yeah.
I don't care if he's experienced. Jack Grealish is experienced, for God's sake. Is this the narrative now? Oh, because he's got Premier League experience, I'll take him at Arsenal. I mean, let's be honest. Like since his injury, like he's not really been great. Like Liverpool fans don't entirely rate him, to be honest.
I think my concern about Diaz, I think, you know, we don't know how players are going to transition to Premier League until they played here. But even when you transfer in clubs, there's always a risk because one club isn't another. But I think you lower the risk certainly with the Premier League experience. And my issue with Diaz would be he's 28, and as a wide forward, you're starting to move towards your decline, and you'll be paying a lot of money to strengthen a rival essentially because they will use that to upgrade on Diaz as he sort of goes into his decline. I think if Diaz was 23, I'd be far more all right with it.
Yeah, I reckon.
But at 28, yeah.
I reckon he's extremely wasteful as well at times.
Oh, it fit right in.
Yeah.
I mean, he would.
True.
But I wouldn't look at him and go, like, he's an upgrade on Martinelli. And I don't even think we need an upgrade on Martinelli, to be honest. Just someone who can compete with him. Because Martinelli's still got room to grow. And then whether that's going to be Gittins or
this
whoever.
is the thing that, as you said, the left winners, I'm struggling to think who's actually out there. Apart from who we've mentioned, Lookman would be a fantastic shout. If you want to talk about Serie A, someone like Leao.
Matoma.
Oh yeah, Matoma's a good shout, but it's just the injury.
Again,
he's not being great.
He's also 28 as well, isn't he? So again,
he's 28 now, Matoma.
He might not be quite that old. Let me check.
He's not being great.
I do rate Matoma though, but
he struggled with injuries this year, hasn't he?
Just the injury.
He's 28. 28 this month.
28, yeah.
28.
Okay.
Are you what?
But again, it speaks to the point, isn't it? Where's your lights out option? There isn't one. And I think for me at Arsenal, I think we need a Trossard type player that's a bit different. It's why I keep going on about Eze because he can play as your number 8 if you need him to, and he can play as that sort of different type of left winger. What I don't want to be left with in midfield and on the wing is identical players. I think, let's say you sign Zubimendi and say Adam Wharton, for example. I'm just using this just as an example. So you have those two plus Partey and Rice. That's 4 midfielders very, very similar. What I want to see is one that's different, and that's why I like Eze. But I think the same applies on the wing, and Eze can almost do both, which is you've got 2 different profile of wingers there. You've got Martinelli. Let's say you've got as your wing options next year. And I'm going to sort of say 5 here because I think Nwaneri can also cover Odegaard. You've got Nwaneri, Saka, let's just say Gittins, for example, Eze and Martinelli. You can still get them all game time because Eze can also play in that central midfield role. You don't necessarily need Eze just as your 8 and then 2 wingers to come in if Trossard moves on because he can do both if you get that midfielder right. And that's why I keep going on about Eze. But my concern here is that if it's Gittins and just Gittins, there's no sort of variety in our wing play overly.
No.
And I'm just using Gittins' example. We're saying goes for Williams or Lookman, you know, or Diaz or Mitoma, right? It's I still want that sort of winger that can come inside and won't always look to go outside.
Yeah. I think Semenyo
at
Jack
Bournemouth,
Grealish
type player.
Yeah, I think Semenyo at Bournemouth, right? I rated him highly at the start of the season, but now, like, I know he played well at the weekend, right? Completely and utterly changed the game, but again, I think since the turn of the year, he's not really been great. And even so, like, is he really a level raiser when you think about it? Not really. I know Gittins is still young and that, and he's probably raw, but I want my wingers to be more direct. And from what I can see of this guy, he is direct.
I think that's true
And
of
yes,
all
he
the
hasn't scored a
wingers.
whole lot of goals, but again, like Dortmund have been poor this season, and you're not gonna put that down on a 20-year-old, are you? So
No.
And the
I
thing with
think
Giddens is he's had that sort of, as I said earlier, the reverse Nico Williams season. I think this has been his breakthrough season, which is a goal or assist every 3 games, which is a 20-year-old in the poor side isn't bad. It's not
Yeah.
lightning numbers, but I I just don't know where that lights out left wing upgrade is. But I think what you want to be able to do is go it is as a minimum go light for light, right? Martinelli's not playing well. Who are we putting in? You don't want to be putting in, Reece Nelson. I'm not trying to be mean to him, but if you're going
Yeah,
Giddens, you're like, you kind of feel that's not too bad, right? Because I think that's probably what the market is going to dictate in that position this year. Whereas I think if you picked a striker, I think, and this isn't to disrespect Havertz, who I still think would have got over 20 goals this season had he stayed fit, bearing in mind he had 15 in January. You can see where the upgrade comes. I think the left wing is a much harder position to see where that upgrade comes. Just because that's what the market says at the moment. It just isn't that player there. I don't know what you think on that, Josh, and what your thoughts are on Gittins.
Yeah, I mean, as I said, with Gittins, I've not seen a lot of him, but of course I wouldn't be against the signing, bro. 20 years of age. Yeah, I would definitely take him there. But as you said, him on his own as a winner wouldn't be too convincing personally. But yeah, it just goes back to the point. I know a lot of people talking about we're gonna get Nico Williams. Now I watched Nico Williams a lot. Especially Europa League. That's why I've watched him this season. He's really disappointed. Really, I don't know. He just looks like they're different. I know you can't go too much of Euros hype because I know it's just an international tournament, right? But he was doing all right last season, Williams. I watched him when he played Barca last season at Bilbao, and he looked superb. It's just this season, I don't know what it is. And Bilbao, and I know they got smoked up by Man United in that semi-final, right? But they weren't having a bad season, and he was just underperforming. I'm not convinced of Williams at all, to be honest. At the
I get
moment.
the excitement about him in terms of he's that different type of player. He's a shiny new toy, right? But you get excited. You can get excited about Nico Williams because he's that direct player that we've almost missing, right? So you can sort of see why the hype's there. But I actually don't think he was that great last season either. I didn't see a lot of him until the Euros. I've seen a lot more of him this year. But you look at his numbers last year; they weren't amazing, to be honest. They weren't brilliant.
Just the assist, wasn't it, that he got a lot of?
His assists were okay. Yeah, I've just got rid of his stats now, and now I've forgotten them. But I can understand why people people are excited about Nico Williams, but I think there are question marks over him. Definitely, and I think my issue isn't the transfer fee for him; it's the wages. Although the transfer fee worries me again because it's a one-off hit, and therefore you have to pay it in one go.
Yeah, I look at him. I look at we mentioned Lookman, someone like Liao from
No,
from
Raphael
Milan.
Leao overhyped.
I think so.
I think a bit.
Overrated.
Yeah, I think I think a bit. But see, we're struggling, man. Like the shout Dom made about Eze is really good. To be fair,
I
because
brought up Morgan Rogers at some point.
Rogers as well. Yeah, Rogers
Yeah,
is a baller as
someone
well.
who can play as the number 10 left wing. He's actually
Yeah,
predominantly played over the last month because of Asensio. In fact, has he played there since January? I'm pretty sure he has.
What, on the left?
Yeah, on the left wing.
To be fair, my concern about Morgan Rogers was his insistent fit, but I was thinking about it afterwards because you were talking about him a lot, and I've been thinking about Morgan Rogers more than it is healthy for me. But actually, you look at him and go, he's come through the Man City Academy. We play in a similar way, and you just wonder actually whether he'd actually be. I think he is a system player, but I think he's probably a good fit for us system-wise now. The more I think on it, so I'm not against Morgan Rogers either. I mean, I'd take
Yeah.
him over Ramsey, who apparently we're being linked with, as in the Aston Villa player.
Jacob
We've been
Ramsey.
in with
Jacob Ramsey. Yeah,
Ramsey.
Really?
Yeah, I think it
Wow.
was Monday, Tuesday last week, maybe Wednesday. We were being linked with him.
Jacob Ramsey. The thing with Jacob Ramsey is he's got potential, but he's injury prone.
Yeah,
he's been riddled with injuries recently.
Yeah, exactly.
So.
I don't touch Jason.
True.
I don't touch Ramsey for the same reason I didn't touch Pedro Neto last year. Right, he just can't stay fit.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, be interesting to see what happens, guys. But yeah, yeah, that's that. Let's end it, man. Luca, do you want to promote everything like you always do?
Yeah, let's do what's required. But no, content-wise, coming up, we've got a lot of streams. I've got a Liverpool fan, all plans now. 5 p.m. on the Saturday. They just sent me a message, so I have to schedule that and set it up. Content-wise, coming up tomorrow, we have 2 streams. 8 p.m. we have a Milton Keynes Dons end of the season review. And then 10 p.m. on the same day, we have the PSG preview, predict and lineup. Wednesday, you know what comes on Wednesday on match day. Watch along. I've been starting to do watch alongs now. Well, I missed the Bournemouth one because I was coming back from Swindon, but I did a reaction on it. But Wednesday, of course, at 7:30 will be the live watch along, and then match reaction straight after the game. And then of course, Saturday 5 p.m. we have a Liverpool fan coming on. Of course, Tammy will be coming on. Tammy Redmond will be coming on at 5 p.m. Saturday for Liverpool, and then the watch along, and then match reaction straight after the game. So make sure you have those notification bells and subscribe to the channel, mate.
Mm-hmm.
Which channel?
My channel.
Yeah, man.
Catalan 94, Cooper. Set your notifications on.
Yeah, man.
Luca's far more organised than I am with this sort of stuff.
I've been scheduling streams. Like I still got a few more I need to schedule. So,
I pick up the camera and talk, and then see what happens.
A couple of people messaged me saying that you're going to be doing any League 2 semi-final playoffs, and I'm like, maybe that's something for me to do.
Yeah, man.
100%, bro. 100%. But yeah, Josh, what content have you got coming up? What content have you got coming up?
I'm going to leave him on big screen. Oh, he's got off now. That's a shame.
Yeah, what content have you got coming up,
Josh? I was going to let you take over, Luca. That's why you're on big screen now.
Chuguna will be back tomorrow for PSG preview with PSG in it coming on the channel tomorrow. And then
that's thank you for reminding me. That's uploading in literally 10 minutes. So there'll be another video after this, guys, with a PSG fan. Big up to Mo. PSG in. Big up to him. He came on a few hours ago. So that'll be uploaded around 11 o'clock. I know it's pretty late, but yeah. And then what else?
Watch along, match reaction straight out.
Yeah, all that on Wednesday. I'll probably do the Barca game tomorrow because that was a mad game. I don't know if you guys watched it. The 3-3 game. Yeah, that was incredible to watch. So I may do a watch on for that one. And then that's that as always, guys. So Dom, you're doing your thing with the YouTube shorts I'm seeing every morning.
Yeah, most mornings. Yeah, I've got one out before tonight's show on Jorginho. But yeah, I've got one coming out tomorrow morning on what Arsenal we touched on it earlier, what Arsenal need to do differently to PSG, and then I'm sure I'll do the preview on the morning of the game. Content most mornings. Lord knows what I'm going to do the rest of the week because I literally pick up the camera, record it for 3 minutes, and then put the video out. So there'll be content most mornings. As I say, I prefer the long videos, but no one sees them because I've got 2 people. But so the shorts are sort of helping me sort of pick up a bit of traction there. So yeah, that's certainly tomorrow's video, and the day after will be the preview. So we'll see what happens after that.
Nice one, man. Nice one. Rory, bro, you doing some more live streams?
Yeah, might do tomorrow.
Have you changed, by the way, back to StreamYard now? Because remember when I couldn't come on last time because you couldn't hear me.
Oh, you had that too.
Yeah.
I had the same problem as Dom.
I know.
I felt
I
like
thought
a right
it was only Dom at
Charlie.
first,
That.
but
To be honest, me and Dom were
someone
trolling the
really
whole
was.
time. All he's doing was just lip reading.
But yeah, I might do a stream tomorrow, based on, funnily enough, the news we've just gone through. So probably do a news video, and perhaps a mini preview for the PSG game Wednesday, and then I might do a watch along for the game on Wednesday, if you don't mind multi-streaming, Josh.
Have you got a press conference reaction to do tomorrow? Mikel Arteta's press conference is that tomorrow?
What, me?
No, Josh.
What time is it?
I don't know, but it's in the evening.
Yeah, I might do one. Yeah.
Let me tell you what he's going to say. It's a big occasion. You know, we're going to use the anger.
Yeah.
I'm not. Yeah, everyone's a doubt. And you know, we're confident going into the game. You know, we're going to channel the stuff from Real Madrid, and also we're going to talk nicely about PSG and say, you know, they're a quality side, but so are we. You know, when you get to this stage of a competition, this is, you know, these are the games you're living for. I think I've covered it for you.
Yeah.
There we go. Thank you, mate.
You're forgetting one thing, Dom. You need to bring your shorts, your shin pads.
No.
Not that again.
Yeah, you got to bring your shorts and all that, everything. You got to bring the Arsenal black away kit. That's what we were wearing. I personally thought we were going to wear red.
We are wearing red, mate.
What? So
We're
I
gonna wear black, are we? Or else it's a
you
kick
told me
clash.
it was black. So I'm going to have to change my thumbnail
I
again.
think it'd be a kick clash if we wore black.
Yeah, surely it merges with the blue, right?
I'm going to have to change my thumbnail then.
Why do you think we're wearing black?
Yeah, because PSG are obviously playing blue.
Yeah, but such
That's
a dark
gonna be
blue.
a kick clash, though.
PSG, I think, are playing in a home kit, by the way. They're not playing in that blue one.
The blue one is their own kit, isn't it?
No, the one they played at the Emirates with like the blue and white, not white, the blue and
Oh, I'm
green.
with you. Yeah.
But then usually
Oh,
their
so
home
we're
one
gonna
with
be-
the red
so we're
down the
gonna be
middle.
so we're going to be playing in red.
Yeah. I presume we will play in red, man.
Wow.
So yeah, man. I don't see us playing in black.
In all seriousness, like, and I'm not just criticising Arsenal here. Yeah, the PR that goes out these days, I get it, right? You know, modern world, right? If you don't do it right, you get absolutely lambasted. But God, I hate it about sport in general.
Yeah, no, very true, man. Very true.
You know, I'd say that's not a criticism of Arsenal because if they don't do it, like, but oh God, it's cringe, isn't it?
No, it is. Sure is. But yes, guys, we'll catch you tomorrow as always. Big up for all the support. As I said, I'll be literally a 10-minute video coming. No, in 10 minutes, the video's coming. So I know it's a bit late, but anyone who wants to check that out, make sure you guys do that. And yeah,